In my past life, my husband Hufei said he wanted to quit his job to go overseas for business. After that, he vanished without a trace. For 10 years, I took care of his paralyzed mother in his stead. It wasn't until my dying moment that I accidentally overheard a recorded call between his mother and him. Son, she's just a foolish woman. She never even realized my paralysis had been cured long ago. When are you going to bring Yaya and Nyonya home to see their grandma? I passed away with a heart full of resentment. Given a second chance at life, I returned to the very day my husband set sail on his business voyage. This time, I would turn his feigned death into a real one. The Hu family. Honey, are you really sure about this? Have you thought it through, quitting your job to go into overseas business? I asked, tugging at the hem of his shirt. Don't worry, sweetheart, once I make my fortune, the first thing I'll do is bring you to live in a mansion and drive a luxury car, he said, prying my fingers loose, his face set with determination. His best friend chimed in to reassure me. Sis-in-law, we have to think long-term. Trust me with Brother Fei. In 3 years, I promise I'll bring him back to you safe and sound. A faint smile tugged at the corner of my mouth. I'll be sure to thank you properly then, my mother-in-law said to me with a haughty air. What does a woman like her know? Fei, you go ahead without a worry. Just let her stay here and take care of me. I stood to the side, watching them all puff themselves up with indignation. I understand perfectly well. These people must have planned this long ago. They're just informing me as a formality. They've got it all figured out, haven't they? Hufei is out there living it up, getting married and starting a family, dumping their paralyzed mother on me to care for, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. That mother and son from the Hu family sure have it all figured out. But what if you never come back, honey? I pleaded, clutching his sleeve to stop him from leaving. With no way to shake me off, he looked to his buddy for help. His buddy caught on immediately, pried my hand open, and promised, sis, how about this? I'll make Hufei call you once a month to let you know he's safe. I don't agree. I was about to say more when my mother-in-law cut me off, pointing at me and starting to yell, Yunyan, are you quite finished? If you keep this up, Fei is going to miss his train. All you ever think about is what happens in the bedroom. My son is going out to earn a living. Can you not survive without him? Don't you still have this old woman here to keep you company? Her furious outburst erased the last trace of Hufei's guilt, and he immediately turned his reproach on me. Nyen. You're being completely unreasonable right now, sis. Don't be so short-sighted. I'm not taking Hufei out for fun and games. We're going to make some serious money. I listened to their scolding and agreed through gritted teeth. Fine, I agree, but on one condition. You, my husband, must write a written promise to call me once a month. Otherwise, Mom and I will just assume you're dead. Hufei and the other 2 exchanged glances, watching the hands of the wall clock approach 9 o'clock. Though a flicker of doubt crossed his mind, Hufei agreed nonetheless. In under 2 minutes, a handwritten pledge of a few dozen words, complete with his thumbprint, was in my hands. My heart swelled with quiet delight. I planted a discreet kiss on Hufei's cheek, then held him close and whispered, I'll take good care of your mother. Don't worry about us. Just focus on making your way out there. And remember, if you run into any trouble, talk to your buddies. The moment I finished speaking, his buddy grabbed him and pulled him away, turning back to flash me an okay sign. After Hufei and his buddy left, my mother-in-law started up with her nonsense again. Yunyan, get me a cup of hot water. Couldn't you have blown on it first? Are you trying to scald me to death? Go make me dinner. I want stir-fried chicken and fried cakes. In my past life, I followed the doctor's orders, refusing to let my mother-in-law eat such greasy food. I even massaged her joints for her every day, to the point where her recovery seemed miraculous even to the doctor. Yet, I never received a single word of thanks from her, only criticism. Now that I've been given a second chance at life, I couldn't care less whether she lives or dies. If she wants to eat, I'll make it for her. That way, I get less grief, and she gets to satisfy her craving, give everything, get nothing in return. So why should I bother? 6 months later, I didn't receive a single call from Hufei. That's when I realized my husband was trying to fake his death again, just like he did in our previous life. Armed with the guarantee letter and the village committee's approval, I went to the household registration office to have Hufei's residency officially cancelled. Once your husband's household registration is cancelled, it will be very difficult to reinstate without special circumstances. The clerk confirmed with me once more. I'm sure. I looked up at the clerk, my eyes brimming with tears, and finally nodded before pressing down with the red ink stamp. What use does a man pretending to be dead have for a household registration? If you want to vanish, then vanish without a trace. After leaving the household registration office, I went home and handed the cancellation documents to my mother-in-law. Mom, I went and cancelled Hufei's household registration today, I said calmly. The smile vanished from my mother-in-law's face. And she raised her hand as if to slap me, but she was paralyzed from the waist down, so I dodged her effortlessly. Her rage boiled over, and she screamed at me, Yunyan, how dare you? Don't you understand, Fei? He was just far too trusting of you. They haven't even found his body yet. How could you possibly have his identity revoked? If he comes back, I'll have him beat you to death, you worthless burden. I listened to my mother-in-law's words with a cold sneer. Even now, she refused to reveal the truth about Hufei's faked death. I couldn't understand. If he really didn't like me, he could have just asked for a divorce. Why did he have to fake his death? If I couldn't figure it out, I simply wouldn't think about it. Seeing how agitated my mother-in-law was, I quickly called the neighbors over to hear my side of the story. Everyone, please tell me if I'm being unreasonable. My husband quit his job to go overseas for business, and he's been missing for 6 months. Even the good friend he went with can't find him. I've filed all the necessary police reports. Now I'm going through the process to have his household registration cancelled. Am I wrong to do that? Before he left, he wrote a promise that he would call me at least once a month, but 6 months have passed, and I haven't received a single call. My neighbors were moved by my actions. Knowing my character, they all started trying to reason with my mother-in-law. I think Yunyan makes a very good point. The person is gone, vanished. Canceling the household registration is understandable. The poor woman has already lost her husband, and now this person is still bullying the daughter-in-law. She must be feeling so wronged and trapped here. If it were me, I would have ditched that paralyzed old woman long ago and found a way out for myself. Listening to the neighbors' gossip, my mother-in-law was so furious her eyes seemed about to burst from their sockets. She clawed at the bedsheet, her bloodshot eyes fixed on me with murderous intent. She shrieked hysterically, Yunyan, you vile woman, I hope you die a horrible death, a horrible death. I found it absurdly funny and waved my hand dismissively in front of her. This was her true nature. It was all an act on her part. It's exactly the same as my last life. In the face of her scolding and beatings, I chose to swallow my anger and suffer in silence. I kept telling myself, things will be better once my husband gets home. Little did I know, I waited 10 years, yet Hufei never returned, but the phone call he had with his mother just before his death is still vivid in my memory. Son, your mother is doing just fine now. Nyo is already in 2nd grade, she needs proper nourishment. I'll send you some more money, that good-for-nothing Yunyan. He's been a common laborer his whole life, and his wages are a pittance. My mother-in-law's furious scolding snapped me back to reality, and she added in a voice meant only for the two of us, Yunyan, you'd better make them leave right now, or I'll beat you to death once this is over. My mother-in-law's words were a wake-up call. A hungry wolf, no matter how well you treat it, will turn and bite you in the end. Fine, you asked for this. I knocked her hand away and called out to the crowd that was just about to leave. Seeing everyone's confused expressions, I said loudly, uncles and aunties, I will be holding my husband's funeral in 3 days. I hope you can all attend. So, with my mother-in-law in a state of shock, I proceeded to call each and every one of whose family and friends to inform them of the funeral arrangements. Mom, are you satisfied with how I handled things? However, when I called his best friend, Bai Jian, I was met with an immediate challenge. Sis, Fei is only missing. How can you possibly hold a funeral for him? If brother Fei comes back and sees you holding a funeral for him, he'll kill you. Sis, listen to me. Just wait 2 or 3 years. If there's still no word from him by then, it won't be too late to hold the funeral. Hearing his best friend's explanation, I found it utterly ridiculous. Wait for him another 2 or 3 years, as if, in my past life, I listened to people like you and waited for him for 10 long, bitter years. Only on my deathbed did I learn that he had long since married and started a family elsewhere. Don't try to talk me out of it. When you're dead, you have to report to the underworld, or you'll become a wandering, restless ghost. With that, I hung up the phone and began sorting through Hufei's belongings. The bedroom looked largely unchanged, but when I opened the wardrobe, I immediately sensed something was off. Not a single piece of Hufei's clothing remained. In my previous life, I hadn't given it a second thought, assuming Hufei had simply packed all his clothes away. This time around, knowing the outcome, I could work backwards to understand the process. The truth is easy to uncover. He wanted to leave this home, with no intention of ever coming back. Even though I had found peace, the tears fell freely. In my past life, I searched the world for him, spending nearly all my money on missing person ads. When I was too exhausted to go on, I'd fall asleep holding our wedding photo. but Hu Fei had faked his death and had taken everything in the house that belonged to him. I searched the house for anything of value, but came up empty-handed. It was obvious, without a doubt, that he had sold off everything of value in the house. Of course, if he's planning to fake his death for good, he certainly wouldn't leave anything for me. The tears I had just managed to stop began to fall again, like strings of pearls. Crying over a man like that is simply not worth it. I worked my fingers to the bone to earn money for clothes and household items, and he just took everything and ran. My body trembled, both hands gripping the edge of the table for support. Suddenly, I remembered something and rushed to the bedroom to find my bank card. I rode to the bank to check my balance. And the teller's scornful look instantly filled me with dread. "Ma'am, the current balance on this card is only 66 cents. When I heard there was only 66 cents left in my account, my vision went black and I passed out cold. I came to in the hospital. The doctor saw I was awake, checked me over, and after confirming I was fine, told me to go settle the bill. After paying the bill, my pockets were completely empty. We're broke, and payday is still 2 weeks away. I don't even know how I made it home. As soon as I got home, I heard my mother-in-law yelling, 'Yun Yen, where the hell have you been? Didn't you hear the phone ringing?' I wasn't in the mood to answer, so I was about to hang up, but my mother-in-law blocked the screen with her hand. I took a deep breath and answered the call. Seeing the caller ID, my eyes turned cold. It was Bai Jian calling. Suppressing my anger, I spoke. "Is this Bai Jian? What do you want, sis? Fei's alive." He then recounted how Hu Fei had just called him. After hearing Bai Jian's story, I found it full of holes. It was obvious he was just trying to cover for Hu Fei. I took a deep breath, my fingers trembling uncontrollably, my voice choked with utter grief. "Bai Jian, I know you're Hu Fei's closest brother. You're just saying that to comfort me, aren't you? If you truly see me as your sister-in-law, you must come to your Fei Ji's funeral service and see him off one last time." The person on the other end of the line chuckled, then grew somewhat agitated. "So, sister-in-law, you've actually arranged a funeral service? Of course, did you think I was joking? I've already notified everyone." Bai Jian fell silent. When I heard his household registration had been cancelled, I even gathered friends and family for his funeral. Hu Fei couldn't sit still any longer. He grabbed his woman and went straight to Bai Jian. After a whole day of discussion, the three of them finally reached a conclusion. They tried to persuade me to cancel the funeral service. Since I was the one who sent out all the notices, it would have to be me or him personally to retract them. His mother could have done it, of course, but she's bedridden and would have even less face to ask. I certainly won't cancel the funeral service. I want Hu Fei to live in shame forever. Just then, my mom called, saying something had happened at home and I needed to go back right away. This suited me perfectly. For one, I could help out at home, and for another, I could avoid Hu Fei for a couple of days. After packing my things and picking up a few items for the family on the way, I hurried back to the Yu residence. It wasn't until I was back at the Yu home that I truly felt the warmth of family, and the tension from the past few days finally began to ease. Seeing me like this, my parents' faces showed their concern, but they still brought up the pressing matter at hand. "Xianyan, your sister Mingyue said she was going out with friends 6 months ago, but in all this time, she hasn't called home once. We've practically turned the entire River City upside down looking for them. Even the police are at a loss." After hearing my parents out, I was deeply skeptical. Yu Mingyue disappeared around the same time as Hu Fei, but I immediately shook my head, dismissing the idea that they could have run off together. After all, in my previous life, Yu Mingyue was only gone for a year before she came back. With memories of my past life, I reassured Mom and Dad, "You know how Mingyue is. Ever since we adopted her, she's been rebellious. How many times did she run off as a kid? Honestly, you shouldn't worry. She's got 2 hands and 2 feet. Once she's had her fun, she'll come back." Hearing my words, my parents let out a sigh, seeming somewhat relieved. "And what about you, Xianyan, with Hu Fei gone? Are you really planning to look after his old mother for the rest of your life? Xianyan, you've slaved away for the Hu family all these years. You've done more than enough. It's time to let go." My parents' support moved me deeply. I quickly reassured them, "Mom, Dad, once Hu Fei's funeral is over, I'll go and file for divorce." 2 days later, after my mom helped me with my makeup, we headed to the funeral together. On the way there, I gave my parents a few instructions, telling them to just follow my lead on everything. My main concern is that they'll be furious if they find out Hu Fei faked his death. To my surprise, the first to arrive wasn't Hu Fei, but Hu Ji, the adopted son who had been cast out by the Hu family. I'd seen him in photos and spoken to him on the phone a few times, But all I remembered was that he'd run off to Shenzhen to live a wild life. He was tall and stood straight. Dressed in a black suit with a white flower pinned to his chest, he walked up to me and said, "Yunyan, long time no see." I shot him a glance and said with annoyance, "Hu Ji, you should call me sister-in-law." Hu Ji's face twisted with conflict, and he finally muttered a reluctant, "Yes, sister-in-law." Next, the Hu family's relatives and friends entered. Their sorrowful expressions made me feel a pang of guilt. "Hu Fei, how much longer are you going to keep up this charade of being dead? Do you really have to make all your family and friends grieve and worry for you? Are you still not going to show yourself? Then don't ever show up again." Then, Bai Jian wheeled my mother-in-law into the room. Their faces were both grim, but my mother-in-law in the wheelchair was especially furious. She even tried to slap me. Luckily, my mom reacted quickly and pulled me out of the way. "Sis, Fei just called me. He's safe. He's alive. If you go home right now, you'll be able to take his call." Hearing Bai Jian's frantic explanation, I couldn't help but burst into tears. "Don't comfort me. If you're still Hu Fei's good brother, don't say these things anymore. The dead cannot be brought back to life. I won't do anything to harm myself." Before Bai Jian could say anything more, Hu Ji pulled him down into a seat. Everyone had arrived. I walked up to the microphone at the head of the room, ready to deliver the eulogy. "Thank you all, family and friends, for coming. I know it's difficult to find the time, but you've made it here to attend my husband's funeral." Just as I was about to speak the next words, a furious shout cut me off. "Yunyan, didn't I tell you, you silly girl, that your husband Hu Fei isn't dead?" The old woman in the wheelchair pointed at me, shouting in fury, her entire body trembling. The wheelchair itself wobbled dangerously from her thrashing, threatening to fall apart. "Holding a funeral for someone who's still alive? What kind of nonsense is this? You've utterly disgraced the Hu family name." I looked toward the doorway, but Hu Fei was nowhere to be seen. He really has the nerve, sending his paralyzed old mother out to be the first line of defense. What a devoted son he is. I placed my hands on my mother-in-law's shoulders and comforted her. "Mom, I'm his wife. His death hurts me just as much as it hurts you, but the dead cannot be brought back to life. The best we can do now is to lay him to rest as soon as possible." The old woman's eyes bulged like copper bells as she slapped her thighs and roared, "Burying the dead is for those who are gone. But my son is alive and well. Yunyan, you're a complete lunatic." Witnessing this scene, everyone in the room was stunned. Was Hu Fei not dead? I smiled at the crowd, then looked at the old woman and said, "If your son were really alive, wouldn't he be here right now? Do you have any other witnesses?" The next moment, everyone gave me a thumbs up, their expressions turning to anger towards my mother-in-law. My gaze fell on the doorway. Seeing no one had entered, I pushed my mother-in-law aside and continued presiding over the ceremony. "Thank you all for coming to my husband's funeral today. The burial is scheduled for..." Just as I was about to continue, a woman in bright, flashy clothes suddenly walked in from outside. She strode directly to the center of the crowd and declared with unwavering conviction, "I can prove Hu Fei is alive. He's on his way here right now." At that moment, the entire room was stunned once more. Their gazes darted back and forth between me and the woman, unsure of who to believe. My mother rushed forward, pulling the woman into a tight embrace. She began thumping her on the back in a mix of anger and relief, her voice trembling as she spoke. "Mingyue, where on earth have you been for the last 6 months? Do you have any idea how much your father and I have missed you? Thank goodness you're back safe and sound. We were worried sick." Dad stepped forward as well. He glanced at Mingyue and, in a rare show of concern, said, "It's good to have you back." "See, Mom, Dad, I'm fine. I just went traveling for half a year, and I came back because I missed you." She spun around, touching and looking at everything, then buried her head in her mother's embrace. He kept sharing amusing anecdotes, making Mom laugh nonstop, and even Dad cracked a warm, approving smile. I didn't confront her with questions, as I already had a vague sense of the truth in my heart. I recalled the words Hu Fei had said to his mother during their phone call in my past life. "When are you going to bring Yaya and Nyonyo back so Mom can see them?" The last character of Yu Mingyue's name is also Yu, Moon. Could it be a coincidence? The mother-in-law, who had been so overwhelmed by gossip she could barely stand, instantly sprang back to life. Pointing at me, she loudly berated me in front of family and friends. "You all heard that. My son is still alive. Yunyan, what are you scheming, you wretched woman? Are you wishing for my son's death so you can take our family fortune for yourself?" Hearing this, the people around us who had been on my side began to change their stance. "See, I told you, Hu Fei is blessed with great fortune. How could he just die like that? It was all just a misunderstanding." "Oh, Auntie, we were all deceived by this woman too. How dare she joke about something like this? Let's all teach this lying woman a lesson. My mother-in-law wore a smug expression, once again exuding the confidence of the one who holds the reins at home, as the crowd gathered around. I finally turned to my sister, Yumingyue, and bowed to everyone. Mom, haven't you had enough of this little performance? The witness you're referring to is my own sister, Yumingyue. She's never been the sharpest tool in the shed. I'm afraid she's hardly a reliable witness. At that moment, my own parents stepped forward to vouch for me. The tables turned in an instant. My mother-in-law's expression froze on the spot. Her lips moved, and a strained smile tugged at the corner of her mouth. What on earth are you talking about? I don't understand a word. Why on earth couldn't she be a witness? Watching her feign ignorance, I let out a cold, scornful laugh. The law clearly stipulates that a witness must be someone capable of distinguishing right from wrong and expressing themselves clearly, but my sister obviously doesn't meet that criteria, so your plan to have her testify is completely unworkable. Naturally, some people in the room understood this principle. Word spread quickly from person to person, and their attitudes shifted once again. Yunyan is right. Her sister cannot serve as a witness. Old woman, if you insist your son is alive, then have him come out and show himself. Exactly. I think she's just trying to cover it up, or she's so grief-stricken she's lost her mind. My mother-in-law couldn't bear to hear this any longer and immediately started shouting back at them, seeing the situation escalate. Yumingyue broke free from her mother's arms, rushed towards me, and demanded, "What gives you the right to say I'm not right in the head? I'm perfectly fine. I tell you, Hu Fei isn't dead at all. I know exactly where he is." Yumingyue wasn't a complete fool. She quickly caught on to what I was doing and cut herself off mid-sentence. I let out a sigh, feeling a pang of disappointment. I put my arm around her and said with a laugh, "Go on. Then, don't you know where Hu Fei is? Tell us now. And we'll believe you." Yumingyue stared at me, too afraid to speak. If she spoke up, it would prove she had been with Hu Fei all along, and the fallout would be too great. Seeing the situation turn sour, my parents quickly pulled her aside, although it was already confirmed that the one who had been carrying on with Hu Fei was Yumingyue, but with both my parents present, I didn't want to air this matter in the open. Under the gaze of the crowd, I approached the microphone for the third time. The burial is scheduled for 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. We hope all family and friends can attend promptly. No sooner had the words been spoken than a figure burst through the door. His clothes were tattered, his frame gaunt, and he was gasping for breath. Leaning against the doorframe for support, he sobbed out the words, "Darling, Mom was right. I'm not dead. I've come home." Dozens of pairs of eyes in the room were fixed on him, waiting for an explanation, but he paid them no mind. He walked straight up to me, opened his arms, pulled me into an embrace, and kept repeating my name, "Nian Nian, I've missed you so much. You know, during these 6 months I've been away trading overseas, I've thought of you every single day." Just 1 month into the voyage, I was caught in a storm, I was rescued by fishermen, and as soon as I recovered from my injuries, I came straight back to find you. Just look at the state of my clothes. I didn't stop for a moment on the journey here. One of his hands guided my fingers as they fumbled over his threadbare clothes, while his other arm encircled my waist, yet all I could smell was the scent of sweat, not the stench of decay. Nian Nian, how long had it been since he last called me by that childhood name? He was still putting on an act. It wasn't until everyone had gathered around that I tore his shirt open. His skin was smooth as porcelain, without a single scratch. "Darling, are you really going to keep up this act in front of everyone? You were caught in a storm at sea, yet you don't have a single mark on you. Anyone who didn't know better would think you'd been lounging in some woman's tender care." Hu Fei's expression froze, a perfect mirror of his mother's just moments before. He instantly lost his composure, pulling his clothes tighter as a placating smile stretched across his face. "Honey, are you running a fever? I can't understand a single word you're saying." I ignored his attempt to appease me. The humiliation and rage I'd endured in my past life, compounded by the last few years, had finally reached a breaking point. I shoved him away and, with a backhanded motion, slapped him hard across both cheeks. "You don't understand. Then let me make it crystal clear for you. 6 months ago, you and your good buddy Bai Jian cleaned out the house of everything valuable and all the savings, claiming you were going overseas to do business, but you never went into business at all, did you? You went out chasing women instead. You tried to fool us all with a fake death, but you've been secretly having your mother wire you money all along. Couldn't make it on your own out there, could you?" He stared at me, dumbfounded, never expecting I knew the whole story. "Are you following me?" A bitter laugh escaped me in my fury, thanks to my memories from a past life. "I knew far more than that. Following you? Do you think you're worth the effort?" "Of course I know more. With that, I laid out all the evidence one by one, the spending records from over the years, the bank statements, and more, and of course, there were the phone calls I overheard between him and his mother, all meticulously recorded in my notebook. As Hu Fei looked over the proof of his infidelity and faked death, his face turned as pale as snow. His eyes swept across the crowd before finally settling on his good friend, Bai Jian. Through gritted teeth, he demanded, Bai Jian, was it you who said it? I always knew you had impure thoughts about my wife. You're just trying to sabotage our relationship on purpose. Bai Jian, under his intense glare, kept denying it, but the more he tried to explain, the worse it sounded. He was practically on the verge of collapsing to his knees. Bai Jian's reaction only convinced Hu Fei more that there was something going on between him and me. The two of them ended up in a brawl. The old lady kept wailing, what a sin, what a sin. She tried to get someone to pull them apart, but no one paid her any mind. I'm just watching the show like everyone else, a real dog-eat-dog world. What a spectacular drama. Hu Fei noticed something was off. He turned to look at me and said, honey, I know Bai Jian was the one who seduced you. I've already taught him a lesson for you. Don't contact him anymore. Let's just go back to how we were before. With that, he pulled a ring from his breast pocket and held it out to me. Darling, look, I went to great expense to get this for you in Shenzhen. I stared at the ring in his hand, a cold sneer forming in my heart, for all its shine. It was just a cheap alloy piece, a fact my reborn self saw through instantly. I let out a scoff. Honey, you claim you bought this ring in Shenzhen, but do you really expect me to believe that? How convenient that your younger brother is here today. He does business in Shenzhen. Why don't we let him take a look and give us his expert opinion? His eyes darted from me to Hu Ji, who had stepped out from the crowd, and his face completely lost its composure. His voice trembled as he spoke. Little brother, what are you doing back here? Hu Ji ignored him, snatched the ring from his hand, and sneered, a cheap alloy trinket from a street stall, $2 a pop. The funeral guests were utterly dumbfounded. This time, it was clear to everyone that the Hu family was spewing nothing but lies, ganging up to deceive a young girl. My gaze shifted to the person beside me, whose expression was even more priceless. Catching my gaze, Yumingyue lowered her head in shame, a flash of anger flickering in her eyes. Hu Fei had deceived her too, yet she had fallen for it. Hu Fei finally dropped the act, his face contorting with anger. Yunyan, so what if I gave you a fake ring? But how could you do this to me? I'm not even dead, and you've already had me declared deceased and planned my funeral. Is that how a wife should act? I did it, I admitted it readily. I wanted to get back at him and make him pay. I was just about to bring up divorce when Hu Ji beat me to the punch. He slapped Hu Fei across the face. Hu Fei, you're utterly despicable. I've been sending a substantial amount of money home every year for ages, and you couldn't even be bothered to buy Nian a real ring. You're not fit to be Nian's husband. I shot a stunned glance at Hu Ji, then looked over at Hu Fei and his mother. Both of them hung their heads in shame. As memories from my past life merged with those of the present, the truth of the matter became instantly clear to me. So my uncle had been sending money home every year, and I never saw a single penny of it. That leaves only one possibility. Hu Fei and his mother embezzled it all. To be more precise, Hu Fei used the money to keep a mistress on the side, and this woman, I slapped him right back. Hu Fei, you and your mother squandering your uncle's money was bad enough. But now you're eyeing the salary I've worked so hard to save all these years. Is this how a husband should act? The crowd was furious, and the funeral guests completely lost their restraint. They pointed fingers at Hu Fei and his mother, with some even wanting to rush forward and throw a punch. My disappointment was absolute. I pulled a divorce agreement from my coat and handed it to Hu Fei. If you have any shred of decency left, you'll sign this right now. Hu Fei took it and looked it over. The contract terms were clear, but the final clause was more than he could bear. He violently tore the divorce agreement in two. Why on earth should I walk away with nothing? Hu Fei stared at me, his eyes blazing with murderous rage. I used to be afraid he'd hit me, but with all these people around now, it's the perfect chance for me to get away from him. He was the one in the wrong from start to finish, yet somehow he's acting like he's the reasonable one. I sneered, because you cheated. What do you think is left in this house? Nothing. All I want is my wages from all these years back. He suddenly stared at me and laughed. You say I cheated. Do you have any proof? We locked eyes, and I saw a glint of smug satisfaction in his. Nian, if you apologize to me and Mom now and help me get the household registration restored, we can still have a good life together. I had never met someone so shameless, or perhaps, I had simply never seen him for who he truly was. I was just about to use the household registration issue to threaten Hu Fei into a divorce when Hu Ji suddenly stood right in front of me. So you want proof of your infidelity? I can be a witness. Would you like me to recount in detail all the good deeds you did in Yanqing? As Hu Ji spoke, his gaze shifted to someone beside him, causing Hu Fei's face to instantly pale with shock. Hu Fei immediately dropped to his knees, pleading, Hu Ji, I'm your brother. You're part of the Hu family too, you can't betray your own brother. All his previous arrogance vanished without a trace, completely subdued by his uncle. Hu Ji slapped Hu Fei across the face and shouted angrily, neither of you two are any good, you kicked me out of the Hu family right after I graduated high school. For Nianyan's sake, I've been sending money home all these years, I never imagined you two would pocket it for yourselves. Be smart about this, divorce Nianyan immediately. Or I'll take you to court. If it comes to that, you two won't get a single thing. Hu Fei's face darkened, yet he still managed to force an ingratiating smile at the corners of his mouth. I'm sorry, little brother, I was wrong this time, I'll turn over a new leaf, I promise. Nian, please forgive me just this once, I'll never dare do it again. Without saying a word, I took out another copy of the divorce papers and handed them to Hu Fei. Sign it now. Hu Ji glared at Hu Fei and barked. But, Hu Fei was about to say more, but under Hu Ji's piercing gaze, he dared not utter another word of defiance. Under Hu Ji's supervision, we went through the divorce procedures that very day, and also processed the paperwork to restore Hu Fei's household registration. As I stepped out of the household registration office and was about to leave, a figure suddenly blocked my path. Hu Ji pulled up on his motorcycle, blocking my path, and gestured for me to get on. Where do you want to go? I'll give you a ride. Looking at this brother-in-law of mine, I couldn't shake the feeling that he was just like his older brother. His intentions weren't pure. I shook my head. Hu Ji, I'm heading back to my mother's place. I don't think we're going the same way. Hu Ji casually dropped his motorcycle and fell into step beside me. Sis-in-law. No, Nian, would you like to hear a story? Given his help today, I nodded. Then make it quick. I'm almost home. A smile played on Hu Ji's lips, a sharp glint flashing briefly in his eyes. A family took in a child, but they could barely feed themselves, so the foundling only got one meal a day. To avoid starvation, the child had to swallow his pride and go door to door begging for food. If he encountered kinder households, they might give him some leftovers, but with less charitable folks, he'd be driven away with a stick. That winter, the little boy nearly starved to death in the snow. A young girl came to his rescue and took him in as her younger brother. At this point, his eyes welled up with tears, and I, too, found myself lost in that memory. It was a gaunt, skinny boy, huddled in the corner, yet undeniably handsome. He had such refined table manners, and I was smitten with him at first sight. The trouble was, I never learned his name. I tried to find him afterwards, but he was nowhere to be found. Well, did the girl give you any kind of code phrase or not? I asked, my guard still firmly up. The heavens command the tiger, the pagoda subdues the river demon, he said with a bright smile, his imitation carrying a hint of our childhood days. My heart swelled with joy, and I patted his shoulder. Look at you, little brother, doing so well for yourself. You don't need your big sister's protection anymore, but I want to protect you, sis. That's why I came back, to find you. You're divorced from Hu Fei now. Hearing him on the verge of uttering something earth-shattering, I rushed forward to cover his mouth, a warning already on my lips. Sis, I'm just a divorced widow now. Not good enough for you. Don't say things like that again, or I won't speak to you anymore. Hu Ji was overjoyed to hear this. She didn't outright reject him. Didn't that mean he still had a chance? He needed to figure out a way to win her over. The best approach would be to lure her out first. I'll listen to whatever you say, sis, but, little brother here has a money-making scheme. Would you like to hear it? I felt a sudden pang of temptation. The factory isn't doing well these days. We're basically just surviving on our base salary. The little pay I take home goes straight to household expenses and Hu Fei's mother's medical bills. It's a real hand-to-mouth existence. Why don't you tell me about it first? Hu Ji was overjoyed. He told me about his experience of going to Shenzhen, starting as a manual laborer. He gradually built his own construction company. He told me that Shenzhen was a land of opportunity, where anyone could make money if they came. That's certainly true. In the news from my past life, I'd heard countless stories of Shenzhen churning out millionaires. Before I knew it, we found ourselves standing outside a Chinese restaurant. I took one look at the restaurant's name and was ready to call out to Hu Ji to leave. The food here is way too expensive. A single meal would cost me a whole month's salary. Hu Ji suddenly grabbed my hand. This meal is on me today. There's a real business opportunity for you in this, he blurted out. seeing I was determined to leave. Alright, let's split the bill for now, and I'll pay you back later. I'd only been here once before marrying Hu Fei, and in all the years since, he'd never brought me back. We ordered a hearty spread of dishes and even had a few drinks each. Over the meal, Hu Ji also told me about a lucrative business opportunity. Honestly, I was quite tempted, but going to a place like Shenzhen is something I need to discuss with my family first. After dinner, Hu Ji saw me home. The moment I reached my doorstep, I spotted a familiar figure standing there. Seeing me return, Hu Fei hurried forward to take the things from my hands, but I dodged him. Nian Nian, I've been waiting at your door for 2 hours. I looked at him with confusion and spoke, my tone laced with displeasure. Hu Fei, we're divorced. What are you doing at my door? I miss you. Mom wants to see you too. He grabbed my arm to pull me away, but then caught the scent of alcohol on my breath. He whirled around to confront me. You've been drinking. Tell me, which man have you been out carousing with? I nearly choked on my food in sheer rage. Staring blankly at the man who was a complete stranger to me, I yanked my hand back and sneered, your mother wants to see me. I bet she's just waiting for me to come back and wait on her hand and foot. His eyes instantly welled up with tears as he pleaded, Nian Nian, even so, we've been husband and wife for years. Can't you just look after her a little? Just think about it, all these years. Has our Hu family ever let you go hungry or without clothes? We've treated you like one of our own. Nian Nian, I know you're still angry, just come back with me. You can hit me, you can yell at me. I won't lift a finger to stop you. I love you. Let's get remarried tomorrow. Okay. I looked up and met his gaze. A flash of hatred passed through his eyes. Then I understood. I'm afraid Hu Fei's invitation to come back is a trap. Given his temperament, he might just break my arm or leg. The Hu Fei who once promised to love me forever has long since changed his heart. A man who dares to divorce me one day and remarry me the next is truly terrifying. So you had an affair. Why don't you get her to take care of you then? I stared at Hu Fei and said, we're divorced. There's no chance I'll remarry you. A smart horse doesn't turn back to graze on old pasture. Hu Fei, I know exactly what you're thinking. You just want to trick me into coming back so you can clip my wings, don't you? You faked your death for 6 months to go off and live it up. All because you thought your mother was a burden. Now that there's no one to look after her, you come crawling back to me. Don't even think for a second that I'd go back with you. Hu Fei looked at me, his heart sinking. He realized I had seen right through him. He truly harbored that thought. If he could just cripple her, no one would want her anymore, not even his best friend. But for now, the most important thing was to trick her into coming home, so he could make his move. Get out of the way if you know what's good for you, or I'll call for help. I pushed him away and was about to step through the gate. Seeing me about to enter, Hu Fei knew this was his last chance. He rushed forward, covered my mouth, and dragged me away. Nian Nian, don't scream. I love you. I won't hurt you. Give me one more chance. I just made a mistake any man could make. I promise you. Just come home with me peacefully. I won't hurt you on the way. His grip was incredibly strong. I couldn't break free no matter how hard I struggled. Just as I was giving in to despair, an unexpected visitor arrived. The next moment, I felt myself falling into a warm embrace. My eyes met Hu Ji's, and a faint blush crept across my cheeks before I could stop it, just as I was still feeling shy. Hu Ji's voice echoed through the entire street. Hu Fei, I remember telling you, if you dare lay a finger on Nian Nian again, I'll make sure your Hu family ends up with nothing. Hu Fei immediately dropped to his knees, kowtowing an apology. Brother, I'm sorry, I'll never dare to do it again, but taking Nian Nian home is a matter between husband and wife. Don't you think it's inappropriate for you to interfere? Upon hearing this, Hu Ji immediately grabbed him by the throat. Don't think I don't know what you're scheming. I heard your entire conversation just now. You want Nian Nian to be your family's nanny. That's impossible. Don't even think about it. A flash of anger crossed Hu Fei's face as he stared at Hu Ji and said, don't tell me you have feelings for her too. My expression froze for a moment, and I also turned to look at Hu Ji. Get out. Hu Ji sent Hu Fei away, saw me home, and didn't answer the question. When I got home and looked up, I saw my parents waiting for me in the living room. Even Yu Mingyue was there. Nian Nian, come sit down. Your mother has something to say to you, Dad began, then glanced at Yu Mingyue. Okay. My voice was devoid of any emotion. I already knew what they wanted to talk to me about. Mom took a deep breath, her tone tinged with helplessness. Nian Nian, just let Hu Fei off the hook this once, please. Why? My tone was icy. He was about to harm me, and you want me to just let it go? Dad pointed at Yu Mingyue, gasping for breath. She's pregnant. Mom slapped her thigh and sighed in despair. What a calamity. Mom handed me a prenatal test report. and I didn't even glance at it, because I already knew from my past life, so there was no surprise at all. So, I said slowly, after a moment of silence, Mom said to me, Nian Nian, look, your sister is pregnant, now that you're divorced from Hu Fei. We just hope you'll drop the claim for compensation. I glanced at Yu Mingyue. The situation I had anticipated had finally come to pass. I looked at them and said, but he cheated on me. If you ask me, we shouldn't let Nian Nian suffer like this. What exactly did she do wrong? Dad couldn't hold back any longer and spoke up, then shot a glance at Yu Mingyue. I feel exactly the same way. I also think Hu Fei is no good, but isn't Mingyue pregnant right now? Mom looked displeased and turned her head away, refusing to engage with Dad. Sis, I'm begging you. I know I've wronged you, but you know how things are with the Hu family right now. We don't have a single penny to pay you back, so, could you please give us a little more time? Let us wait until after the baby is born to repay the debt. I looked at Yu Mingyue, the girl who had been competing with me for everything since we were children. In the end, she had stooped to trying to steal my husband. How ridiculous. If you're that desperate to marry me, then I'll humor you this once. Since she's so set on marrying Hu Fei, she'll just have to live to regret it. But first, I need to have a word with her. I spoke with Yu Mingyue a few times. Despite her denials, I'm fairly certain it was her idea. Cooked up together with Hu Fei, over the next few days, Hu Ji kept finding excuses to come see me. We got along very well, which only strengthened our resolve to start a business in Shenzhen. I shared my plan with the family. Mom and Dad agreed, but Yu Mingyue was evasive. Her eyes darting away. Mom, Dad, we'll be leaving in 3 days. Once I start earning money over there, I'll send it home to you regularly. My parents' eyes welled up with tears. For the remaining days, they cooked all my favorite dishes for every meal. The next 2 days flew by in the blink of an eye. During all this time, Hu Fei never once came looking for me. I quit my job early, and I've been spending these last few days at home, packing up my things. But just today, as I was returning from the market with groceries, a figure knelt down right in front of me. Sis, Hu Fei's gone missing again. You have to come with me to his place right now. Yu Mingyue's eyes were bloodshot, pleading with me over and over to help find someone. Could it really be such a coincidence? I frowned and pushed her away, but I didn't refuse outright. I just stalled for a bit. Alright, Mingyue, you go on home first. I'll head over to his place to look for you in a little while. She nodded, urging anxiously, hurry up, sis, I've been looking for him all day and haven't found a single trace. I agreed with a cold expression, then went home and called Hu Ji. Little brother, my sister just came to me saying Hu Fei has gone missing again. She wants me to go to the Hu family house. I'm worried it's a trap. Bring a few people with you later. The person on the other end was clearly taken aback, then his anger flared. Don't worry, Nian Nian, I'll get there before you do. Let's meet up first at the entrance to the Hu family compound. Alright, but be careful, don't let the Hu family catch on. I gave my instructions before hanging up. I then changed my clothes, tucked a dagger into my belt, and only after making all my preparations did I head to the Hu residence. Half an hour later, I met up with Hu Ji. Seeing he'd brought over a dozen tough guys, I felt it was a bit over the top, yet somehow also strangely touched. Whether someone likes you or not is always clear from their actions. The moment I stepped into the Hu household alone, I knew something was off. Yu Mingyue wasn't home. Hu Fei wasn't missing at all. In fact, he was ready with a rope to attack me. You stupid woman, you refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Son, break one of her legs. We'll keep her here to take care of us. When I saw Hu Fei charging towards me, my first instinct was to call for help. As it turned out, I didn't even need to. The moment I shouted help, Hu Ji had already led a group of people rushing in from outside. A dozen or so people subdued Hu Fei, called the police, and he was subsequently arrested in accordance with the law. As for Yu Mingyue, she had already fled upon realizing the situation had turned, but she is now wanted by the police. When my parents heard the news, it felt like their whole world was collapsing. But seeing that I was unharmed and that all hope for Yu Mingyue was gone, they went to the household registration office that very day to have her removed from the family register. Meanwhile, Hu Ji and I set out on the road to Shenzhen. Upon arriving in Shenzhen, I was awestruck by the towering skyscrapers. It's no wonder they call this the forefront of reform and opening up. Everywhere you look, in every direction, the place is buzzing with activity. Doing business in a place like this, even a pig could make a fortune. I opened a restaurant right at the entrance to Hu Ji's construction site, specializing in Jiangqing cuisine. Over the past few years, I haven't learned much else, but I picked up about 70 or 80% of my mom's cooking skills, with a big boss like Hu Ji on board. The place is packed to the rafters every mealtime. 3 months later, I opened a second branch. In the future, I plan to bring over all the sisters who were laid off from the Jiangqing factory. Having worked with them for so many years, I can vouch for their character. After getting to know Hu Ji better, I finally fell for the man who calls me big sister. He's so much better than Hu Fei. Not only is he handsome, but he also supports my dreams. It was only after coming to Shenzhen that I discovered I could have real dreams of my own. It's a land of opportunity, but also full of uncertainty. I may never be rich or make a fortune, but I earn enough to provide a comfortable life for my family. Looking ahead, my parents are growing old. Looking behind, my children are not yet born. In the end, it all comes down to my own hard work. Another 3 months passed, and my third branch location opened for business. My monthly profits were almost beyond my wildest dreams. Each restaurant was bringing in 5,000 a month, more than I used to make in a whole year at the factory. After Hu Ji's relentless pursuit, I finally agreed to marry him and decided to have my parents come live with us. For 3 nights, Yu Mingyue suddenly appeared. She rushed at me with a dagger, holding me hostage, and said with bitter resentment, "Yun Yan, why can't you just leave Hu Fei alone? Do you have any idea? Because Hu Fei went to prison, there was no one to take care of me, and I lost the baby. If you hadn't gone to Hu Ji for help, you'd be stuck back at the Hu family home right now, taking care of his mother. You never should have come to Shenzhen, much less latched onto a big shot like Hu Ji. I'm clearly better than you, so why would he choose a divorcee like you over even giving me a second look? I just find it laughable. You're carrying Hu Fei's child. There's no way in hell Hu Ji would ever be interested in you. Besides, the reason Hu Ji favors me is because I helped him out when we were kids. I remember when we were kids, Yu Mingyue also had a chance to help Hu Ji, but she chose to ignore him. She even called him a little beggar. Such a nasty thing to say, but before I could even move, a hand shot out from beside me and snatched the dagger right out of Yu Mingyue's grasp. Hu Ji and I worked together to subdue her and called the police. With some time still left before the police arrived, I told her the whole story of what had happened between me and Hu Fei. Impossible. Hu Fei isn't that kind of person, Yu Mingyue retorted loudly. I looked at Yu Mingyue and said coldly, whether it's possible or not, I think you know best. He could even abandon his own mother. The only person he loves is himself. Yu Mingyue wanted to say more, but the police had already entered. After questioning, they took him away directly. Later, according to Hu Ji, she informed on Hu Fei while in prison, which was considered a mitigating circumstance, and she was ultimately sentenced to 5 years. 3 months later, my parents came and brought news of the Hu family. After Hu Fei was imprisoned, he was initially given a sentence of just a few years, but then, for some unknown reason, several more years were suddenly added to his term, and of course, I knew it was all thanks to Yu Mingyue's confession. Meanwhile, Hu Fei's mother, with no one to care for her, was sent to a nursing home, but her temper was too fierce. During one argument, she fell down the stairs and became a vegetable. Another 3 months passed, and Hu Ji and I held our wedding. At the wedding, he told me a secret. He had liked me since we were kids. His plan was to build a career in Shenzhen and then come back for me, but he found out I was already married and could only return to Shenzhen with a heavy heart. Upon learning of Hu Fei's death, he knew his chance had come. This time, he was determined to win me over, no matter what. In his own words, I've lost you for 5 years. For the rest of my life, I want to be by your side every day. A year later, I gave birth to a daughter. Hu Ji wanted to give her the nickname Nyo, but I refused her, and I gave her the nickname No Regrets. It represents my love for Hu Ji. A love I will never regret. The workings of karma in this world are truly wondrous. In our past life, my younger sister ended up with my brother-in-law. In this life, my sister and my uncle are together. It is both karma and retribution. Story 2. I was carrying the child of the devoted second male lead, but when I was hemorrhaging during a difficult labor, he was by the female lead's side, showering her with attention. I was in excruciating pain, my body growing cold, as my soul left my body. I muttered to myself in bitter amusement, if I could do it all over again, I'd never waste my heart on a man. When I opened my eyes again, I had actually been reborn back to the very beginning of the story. At that time, the male and female leads were in the thick of their fiery romance, a classic pair of bickering lovers. Meanwhile, the gentle second male lead, Su Yanhe, was the childhood friend of the female lead, Lin Yuyu, and had always been her silent guardian. In the story, he embodies the classic beautiful, strong, and tragic archetype. Coming from a single-parent household with a gravely ill mother, he juggled studies with work to support the family and pay for her treatment. His life was a series of hardships, his mother's passing, failing the college entrance exam, and his startup venture collapsing. As the devoted second male lead, he was the female lead's eternal safe harbor and her most steadfast support. After the leads married, he left for a foreign country, ultimately fulfilling his destined eternally single ending. The character had readers in floods of tears. I've always been a sucker for the gentle, devoted type, and after finishing the novel, I couldn't help but feel an overwhelming ache for him. In my past life, after I died, I inexplicably transmigrated into a book, becoming a beautiful but insignificant extra. My rational mind told me to stay out of their story entirely and just be a quiet part of the background, but in the end, emotion triumphed over reason. Perhaps out of a sense of shared suffering, I couldn't help but be drawn to Su Yenha. I was willing to protect him, to do everything in my power to redeem him. I would have given him my very heart and soul. Yet, all of that was no match for the female lead's tearful plea. Brother Xiaohe, I miss you so much. So, Su Yenha abandoned me, waiting to give birth in the hospital, to go comfort the female lead who had run away after a fight with the male lead. Overwhelmed by the emotional turmoil, my water broke, and then, died on the cold operating table. 2. I took the initiative to distance myself from the main cast. Su Yenha quickly sensed that something was off. After all, it was always me shamelessly clinging to him, forcing my way into their group. The sudden distance between us was so obvious that even outsiders could tell something was wrong. My top student deskmate quietly asked me if I'd had a falling out with Su Yenha and the others. I patted my workbook and gave a carefree smile. Of course not. I just need to focus on studying. Finals are coming up, and I really don't want to be at the bottom of the class again. As soon as I finished speaking, I felt an intense gaze piercing me from the front row. I didn't need to guess. I knew it was Su Yenha. He'd been stealing glances at me for days, always looking like he had something to say but couldn't bring himself to say it. But it was obvious he was afraid Lin Yuyu might misunderstand, so he didn't dare to approach me. In my past life, I was a fool and a glutton for punishment, thinking I could be his salvation. Little did I know I'd end up in such a laughable state. Now, I can't even muster the will for revenge. For one, I want nothing more to do with the main cast, and for another, I simply lack the ambition and nerve for villainy. All I want now is to truly enjoy this wonderful life of mine. Having died twice, I've come to cherish being alive all the more. Life is a precious gift, and whether in the real world or the world within the book, I've never truly lived it to the fullest. In my previous life, before I transmigrated into the book, I was my mother's precious darling too, but back then, I had congenital leukemia. My father ran off, and my mother had to work herself to the bone, raising me all on her own. But then, I was only 15 when I fell to my death. Mom must have been heartbroken. The more I thought about it, the more a lump formed in my throat, and tears nearly spilled from my eyes. Suddenly, Lin Yuyu's sickly sweet voice sounded from behind me. Ku, why haven't you been hanging out with us lately? Did you have a fight with Brother Xiaohe? I looked up and immediately met Su Yenha's probing gaze from not far away. The next second, I flipped him the bird and mouthed silently, "You fucking asshole." His smile froze, and he stared at me in disbelief. 3. Looking at the female lead's innocent expression, I gave a faint smile. "Yes, we had a fight, a really big one." "Oh, how could this be?" she exclaimed with a look of surprise, though a hint of secret delight flickered in her expression. She's still young, after all, and hasn't yet learned to conceal her true feelings. "Because," I said, putting on a show of being both hurt and angry, "I found out he likes you, so I don't want to like him anymore." Upon hearing this, Lin Yuyu's face instantly turned pale, and she nervously glanced around. It took her a long moment before she could stammer out a defense. Gugu, what on earth are you talking about? I've always seen Brother Xiaohe as just that, a brother, and I'm sure he sees me as nothing more than a little sister. We're just very good friends, so please don't go spreading nonsense." As she went on, her voice grew less and less confident, clearly betraying her guilt. I found it a bit amusing. It was obvious to everyone that Su Yenha had feelings for her. Could she really be so completely unaware? In the end, it's just using the label of siblings to act like lovers. Don't reject, don't initiate, don't commit. As long as she doesn't pierce that thin veil, she can freely indulge in Su Yenha's affection for her. Tired of watching her face flush and pale, I grabbed my vocabulary book and went out to study. I passed by Su Yenha as he walked over. He tried to hold me back. I cursed at him. "Get lost." The gentle smile vanished completely from his face, replaced by a look of mild anger and confusion. The male lead, Qinyi, came over to join the commotion, intending to mock Su Yenha. "Me, get lost, you too. What a useless loser who can't even keep his wife in check. I hate every single member of the main cast with equal passion. Jinyu was startled. He turned around and trudged towards Lin Yuyu, grumbling, what a shrew. Did you wake up on the wrong side of the bed? I shoved Su Yenhe out of my way and stormed out of the classroom. For the next few days, everyone kept to themselves without incident, but we were like complete strangers. After school that day, I went to the alley as usual to feed Fatty. Fatty is a big stray orange cat, and he's very wary of humans. My plan was to win his trust by feeding him, then lure him home. In my past life, both Lin Yuyu and I wanted to adopt him. Fatty was just about to come with me when Su Yenhe butted in and ruined it. After his repeated persuasion, I let Fatty go to Lin Yuyu, but because Qingyi didn't like cats, she casually passed the cat off to Su Yenhe to look after. I seized the opportunity and took him back. This time, I'm definitely going to strike first. Just as I reached the mouth of the alley, I heard Lin Yuyu's light, tinkling laugh. Wow, Xiaohe. This cat is so adorable, I really want to take it home. I hurried over at a jog and caught her hand before she could grab the cat. Don't touch it, Chubbs here bites. She reluctantly withdrew her hand and asked unhappily, oh, Goo, is this your cat? Ha, talk about a quick change of tune. Finally stopped calling me Goo Goo. Sounded like a pigeon that had gained sentience. Yes, it's my cat, I replied flatly, squatting down to put out the cat food. Biting her lip timidly, Lin Yuyu said, but it looks like a stray to me, why don't I give it a home? No way, I refused flatly. This is my cat, I'm taking it home. I wouldn't give up the cat, and Lin Yuyu was dead set on having it. Su Yenhe shot her a look that was both helpless and utterly doting. He addressed me with great politeness, classmate Goo, could you hand over that cat? I couldn't be bothered to argue with them. I simply scooped up Fatty and walked away. Strangely enough, Fatty didn't struggle this time and was uncharacteristically well behaved. Seeing that I was about to take the cat away, Lin Yuyu grew anxious, undeterred. She pleaded in a coquettish tone, Brother Xiaohe, please help me. Su Yenhe sighed with a chuckle. TSK, I really don't know what to do with you. So he caught up and stopped me, launching into his usual gentle persuasion, looking at the boy with his gentle, warm smile. I was seething with hatred inside. It was this exact expression, so tender yet so shattered, that ensnared me, time and again, in my past life. I stayed by his side through the loss of his mother. I supported him as he recovered from failing the college entrance exam. I gave him my heart and soul. It was him who confessed to me first, making me harbor these impossible hopes, and it was also him who proposed, promising me a lifetime together. So why is he still entangled with Lin Yuyu? All the pain and sorrow from my past life surged into my heart at this very moment. The resentment could no longer be contained. With a sharp crack, I couldn't control myself and raised my hand, slapping him hard across the face. You worthless man. Ah, Goo, how could you hit someone? Lin Yuyu shrieked in outrage. Su Yenhe's head was knocked to the side, a fingernail having scratched his chin, from which a bead of blood was welling up. I withdrew my hand, the satisfaction of the act still lingering. This slap is for your cold-hearted betrayal, for your shallow and faithless nature. Lin Yuyu was utterly heartbroken and, filled with righteous indignation, accused me of being malicious, claiming I wanted to destroy what I couldn't have. Then go ahead and call the police, I retorted with a smile. Also, what do you mean by destroy what you can't have? I don't follow. Why don't you explain the whole story to me, Miss Lin? Ha, as if she could ever explain that. If she explained, it would just tear down the facade right then and there. How could she possibly keep up the whole brother and sister act with Su Yenhe then? Sure enough, Lin Yuyu's bravado instantly deflated. She looked at me, flustered and panicked, terrified I might say something I shouldn't. Tisk tsk, she's got a guilty conscience. But why on earth would I go and remind Su Yenhe? That's the fate he deserves. Remembering that Auntie Wang was still waiting for me in the car, I pulled a few $100 bills from my backpack. Not wanting to get any closer to these two, I let the banknotes flutter down to the ground. Classmate Sue, here's the money for your medical expenses. Is it enough? I can add more if it's not. Goo, don't you dare go too far. Lin Yuyu flushed with anger once more. You think having money makes you special? Apologize to Brother Xiaohe right now. I ignored her and instead turned my attention to Su Yenhe. Even a clay figure has its temper. The gentlest souls harbor the fiercest storms. Having spent a lifetime with him in the past, I know him all too well. What he despises most is having his dignity trampled into the dirt. And now, that's exactly what I'm doing. He was indeed furious, his face dark and terrifying. Even though the fire in his eyes was practically blazing, he still managed a smile to reassure the heroine, saying it was fine. Classic second male lead behavior. I rolled my eyes and walked away without looking back, holding Fatty in my arms. 5. I want to transfer schools. After all, as long as I remained within the main character's sphere of activity, I was bound to cross paths with them. It's all too easy to get swept up in their tangled web of love and hate, while it's fun to watch the drama from the sidelines. It's a different story when you're the one in the spotlight. The character I transmigrated into is a wealthy, beautiful, but utterly ordinary side character, a rich orphan who inherited a vast fortune, with an unrelated uncle appointed as my legal guardian. In my past life, I had little interaction with this uncle. All I knew was that he was an enigmatic figure, appearing and disappearing like a phantom. The moment I turned 18, he immediately terminated the guardianship, handed over the entire substantial inheritance to me, and then we went our separate ways for good. With that inheritance, Su Yanhan not only avoided failure after graduating and starting his business, but he expanded it successfully and eventually took the company public. In the business world, everyone addresses him with the respectful title President Su. By comparison, the male lead, Chen Yi, who runs a game studio, seems somewhat overshadowed. Lin Yuyu envies my life as a wealthy socialite, yearning for the glamorous cocktail parties of high society. Su Yanhan's immense fortune has also been a boon to her and Chen Yi. I know the Lin family did him a great favor, and he wants to repay that debt. As long as he doesn't go too far, I'm willing to turn a blind eye, but he crossed the line. A line-crossing bastard doesn't deserve forgiveness. In my past life, I had planned to divorce after giving birth, but I never expected to die from childbirth complications. Is this the price I pay for tampering with the plot? Lost in these melancholy thoughts, my phone suddenly rang. I looked at the number and was immediately puzzled. He actually called me on his own. How strange. As soon as I answered, my uncle's low, magnetic voice came through. Did you get into a fight at school? Completely baffled, I quickly denied it. No, I didn't. Your homeroom teacher called me. He said you got into a fight. He didn't sound pleased. Oh, so the main characters went and tattled on me. I still need this guy's signature to transfer schools. I can't afford to piss him off. Just as I was racking my brain for an excuse, he suddenly ordered, "Turn on the video." Turn on the video. I need to see if you're hurt. Before I could even reply, he had already hung up. The very next second, a video call request popped up on my phone. 6. I answered it without thinking. In an instant, their face, a stunning beauty filter overload, filled the screen, and I instinctively held my breath, dressed in a sharp suit and standing tall. He held a glass of red wine, looking as if he were attending some cocktail party. As he chatted and laughed, his eyes glinted with a charm that didn't quite reach their depths, the sharpness within them veiling a calculated intent. "Uncle," I called out softly. He turned his head, his posture languid, and looked me up and down with an appraising gaze. Then, with a relaxed brow, he said cheerfully, "Not a scratch." Just as I'd expect from one of mine. "What happened? Tell me about it." Having said that, he half-heartedly acknowledged the people coming over to exchange pleasantries. I weighed my words and told a simple lie, saying it was just a clash that arose from friction between classmates. Without wasting another second, I immediately apologized. "I'm so sorry, it was my fault, I shouldn't have hit anyone." He shot me a sharp look, his tone drawn out and lazy. "Did I say you were wrong? It was just a slap. Your homeroom teacher is acting like the school blew up. Honestly, you let that punk off way too easy. Next time something like this happens, you tell me. I'll have someone chop his hands off and feed them to the dogs." I was stunned. "Wait, what?" He raised an eyebrow. "What, you want to do it yourself? Well, it's not out of the question." He paused for a moment, actually seeming to consider the possibility. "But a young lady like you really shouldn't be involved in all this fighting and violence." I was utterly shocked and completely baffled. "Wow. You're a real piece of work, aren't you? The hypocrisy is off the charts. Anything else? If not, I've got to go. I need to deal with the old man." He raised his glass to me and downed the red wine in one gulp. Yes, I blurted out urgently. "Uncle, I want to transfer schools." He paused, his movements halting as he stared at me for a long moment. "Oh, not chasing after your little boyfriend anymore? Sworn off love, have you?" A strange feeling washed over me at his words. How does he even know about this? Has he been spying on me all along? My suspicious look must have been too obvious, because his face suddenly darkened, and he began to shoo me away irritably. "Fine, transfer if you want. Go see Lister, he'll handle everything." List is his personal assistant. "Also, I'll be returning home next month. We need to have a talk about your academic performance. You'd better have a good explanation for why your grades are so abysmal." "How are my grades abysmal?" I may be at the bottom of my class, but at least I'm still in the top 100 of the whole grade. I was just about to argue the point with him, but he had already tossed the phone to Lester, leaving me with nothing but his cold. Retreating back, on camera, Lester wore a smile that was both awkward and polite. Me, what a grumpy old man, serves you right for living to 30 in your past life without even holding a woman's hand. 7. With nothing better to do, I started tidying up the storage room. I threw everything related to Su Yenha straight into the trash. Nanny Wang brought me a fruit smoothie and urged me to take a break. Let me clean this up, miss. Sip it carefully, don't choke. I couldn't wait and took a big gulp of the milkshake, closing my eyes in contentment. So good, it's that long-lost taste of mom's cooking. Every round of chemotherapy for leukemia was especially grueling, and mom would make milkshakes to comfort me. She never knew how to cook originally, but for my sake, she diligently practiced from cookbooks and mastered the art, becoming an excellent cook. She was a top graduate from the University of Finance and Economics, even after her divorce. She had many suitors. If it weren't for me, she could have had a much brighter future. She will surely be devastated when I'm gone, but what's the use of keeping a daughter like me, who's so willful and unfilial? I'm nothing but a burden. In the quiet, Mama Wang suddenly spoke up. Miss, I think that classmate Su has a face that brings misfortune to his wife. He's not a good match. You really shouldn't fancy him. I couldn't help but chuckle. Mama Wang, you can read faces. How impressive. She grew a bit flustered. Miss, I'm not joking. That man looks utterly heartless and faithless. You're such a wonderful girl, you really mustn't fall for him. I nodded in firm agreement. Absolutely, he's no good, so don't worry. There's no way I'd ever like him. Hearing that, she breathed a sigh of relief. A wave of warmth washed over me, and my heart bloomed with joy. It feels so wonderful to be cared for and remembered like this. Speaking of Auntie Wang, she's a character I've only met in this life. I don't recall her from my past life, so she was probably just an extra back then. 2 months ago, I collapsed on the side of the road with a fever, and she was the one who found me and took me to the hospital. She said she had come to the city to look for her daughter. Her daughter had been missing for a long time. She even had nightmares about her being swindled by a scumbag and dying in childbirth. Sadly, she was illiterate and had searched for a long time without finding any work to make a living. As soon as she finished speaking, I felt her pain as if it were my own. Oh dear, another poor mother. So, I asked her to come and tend to the plants at my home. Thinking of this, I scratched my head and cautiously asked her, "Any news about your daughter? Do you want me to help you look for her?" She let out a bitter sigh, shaking her head and nodding at the same time. There was no trace of dejection on her face. Instead, she looked at me with utter seriousness. Honestly, as long as she's doing well, healthy, happy, and full of life, even if she's not by my side, I can accept that. I just hope she can live a happy and joyful life. As she spoke, she looked at me with tender affection in her eyes. I turned my head away, feeling awkward. Ahem. She couldn't possibly be mistaking me for her daughter, could she? I don't really mind. But that young lady would probably be heartbroken if she knew, having her mother's love unintentionally diverted to a stand-in. But seeing the eager and joyful look on Auntie Wang's face, I thought better of it and kept my mouth shut. Oh well, let her have her fun. 8. List actually flew back overnight. Early the next morning, I spotted his car right at the school gate. He motioned for me to get in the car to talk. I pulled open the car door, never expecting to see my uncle inside. He was lounging lazily in the seat, head slightly bowed. He looked both refined and dangerous, exuding an aura that kept others at a distance. I'm debating whether or not to wake him up, because his morning temper is legendary. Over there, List already spoke up. Boss, the young lady is here. Oldly, you're really too thoughtful. Uncle opened his eyes, and his expression was indeed grim. Lester wisely made himself scarce, shooting me a look that said, "You're on your own." I wanted to slip away too, but the man behind me grabbed the strap of my backpack. With a blank face, he patted the seat beside him. Get in. Stealing myself, I reluctantly and slowly took the seat. Have you eaten? He asked, with an air of condescension. I have, but I haven't eaten yet. I was taken aback, and ventured cautiously, shall I take you out for a meal? Then, he snorted coldly and ignored me. After a moment, he suddenly asked, how old are you this year? I answered with a shameless grin, I'll be turning 17 next month. He then stared at me with an inscrutable, half-smiling expression. 17 already, time flies, just one more year to go. Thinking he was referring to the guardianship, and remembering all his care over the years, I cheerfully started laying on the flattery. Hey, even without a blood relation, you'll always be my dearest uncle. I'll take care of you in your old age. I promise, he laughed in exasperation. I'm only 7 years older than you. You think I need you to support me in my old age? Of course, you're handsome, loaded, and can do practically anything, uncle. What would you need a nobody like me for? I continued shamelessly with the flattery. He was silent for a moment, then abruptly changed the subject. Do you remember why your guardianship ended up with me? How would I know that? When I first arrived in this world, there was only an old butler and a few nannies around. You had long since packed up and gone abroad for further studies, and in my past life, no one ever mentioned this matter. Seeing that I remained silent, he simply answered his own question. Looks like you don't remember. Fine, we'll talk about it when you go to university. He was determined not to say another word. That only served to pique my curiosity. Could there be some hidden plot here that I'm not aware of? Just as I was about to speak, he suddenly leaned in close. The cool scent of his cologne, mingled with the aroma of red wine, enveloped me completely in an instant. My mouth suddenly felt dry, and I couldn't help but lick my lips. It's getting late, you should head into school. I've been driving all night and need to catch a few winks. He reached out with his long arm, and I thought he was going to open the car door for me. So I quickly leaned aside. To my surprise, he just snatched the CD calcium milk from the side pocket of my backpack and unceremoniously shooed me out of the car. Me, I can't stand adults with no sense of boundaries. 9. Liz took the statement of repentance I'd copied from all over the place and went to the dean's office. You want me to apologize to Su Yenha in person? Not a chance in hell. I was aimlessly wandering around the sports field. I hadn't even made a few laps before I saw the main cast heading this way. Guyu, you stop right there. Lin Yuyu's shrill cry rang out from a distance. No sooner had the words left her mouth than she and Chinyi flanked me on either side. I frowned impatiently, thinking, what damn rotten luck. They just won't leave me alone. Su Yenha walked over, his gaze fixed heavily on me. I heard you're transferring schools, he said with a gentle smile. Though his eyes were ice cold, what's it to you? I shot back, my voice dripping with sarcasm. Who do you think you are, questioning me? Su Yenha hadn't said a word yet, but Lin Yuyu was having none of it. Xiaohe, why are you even talking to her? Make her apologize. What right does she have to freeze that card? Doesn't she know that's your mother's lifeline? I think she did it on purpose. Card? What card? Oh, I remember now. I did give Su Yenha a card back then, for his mother's medical treatment, but I definitely didn't deactivate it. After coming back to life, I hadn't even thought about it. I took a deep breath and said to Su Yenha with utmost seriousness, believe it or not, I didn't do this. Lin Yuyu, however, grew agitated upon hearing this and declared righteously, this is your card. If you didn't do it, then who did? Chinyi tugged at her arm, signaling for her to tone it down. She was clearly caught up in the heat of the moment, launching into a self-righteous tirade from her moral high ground. Give them an inch, and they'll take a mile. I was at a complete loss for words. I was getting annoyed as more and more classmates gathered on the sports field. Su Yenha, please move aside. I need to go back. Yet he remained motionless, his gaze sharp and fixed on me. I'm not here about that card. I just want to ask you one thing. I just can't figure it out. Why did you suddenly start to hate me so much? Or perhaps, he suddenly leaned in and whispered very softly in my ear, you actually despise me. Don't you? His tone was utterly certain. In an instant, my heart leapt into my throat, nearly pounding out of my chest. His current aloof and detached demeanor, stripped of its usual gentle undertone, began to merge with the cold, indifferent version of him from his past life. Could it be that he has been reborn as well? No, that's impossible. I mustn't panic and lose my composure. No, my heart was in turmoil. Yet my face remained a mask of indifference as I denied it. I don't hate you, I said with a deliberately nasty smile, lowering my voice to a whisper, look down on you, that's all. I realized I had misjudged you, so now, I'm simply seeing the light and correcting my mistake. 10. Excellent. Guyu, you're just wonderful. Su Yenha glared at me, grinding his teeth, his fists clenched so tight his knuckles turned white, and a vein throbbed on his forehead. What do you take me for? Some plaything you can summon and dismiss at will, or just a whim? A bit of charity from the young miss playing at life, you flatter yourself. I cut him off without a shred of courtesy. Even a plaything, if I paid for it, would at least amuse me. You won't even bother to sweet-talk me. How dare you compare yourself to one? It holds itself in higher regard than you do. At those words, Su Yenha's gaze turned sharp as a blade, as if he could cleave me in two. Lin Yuyu couldn't hear what we were saying, but she saw that her brother Xiaohe had turned ashen with rage. Ignoring Chinye's attempts to stop her, she started shouting at the top of her lungs, classmate Gu, why do you keep bullying Brother Xiaohe? Just because Brother Xiaohe doesn't like you, you first hit him for no reason, and then you deliberately cut off his mother's medical funding. You know perfectly well how hard he's been working to earn money for his mother's treatment." As soon as these words were spoken, the crowd of onlookers erupted. It started with whispers and pointed fingers, then the accusations grew louder, more numerous, and utterly unrestrained. Those words came flying at me, thick and fast, like razor blades. I was completely stunned. How long has it been since I last faced a scene like this? Even after all this time, I remember it with perfect clarity. The chemotherapy had made all my hair fall out, leaving me looking gaunt and sickly. They would snatch my wig off on purpose, taunting me and calling me a freak. They'd pair me up with the scruffiest boy in class, cruelly exaggerate the way my body would seize up, and point and laugh right in my face. It happened on a rainy afternoon. They had cornered me again for their amusement. In the struggle, I was pushed over the 7th floor railing. The howling wind and piercing screams crashed into my ears, plunging the world into darkness in an instant. Was I really about to relive the same nightmare here, in that split second? The helplessness, terror, and despair of facing death came crashing down on me once more. I couldn't stop trembling. No, I can't overthink this. I need to stay calm. I need to find a way out of this predicament. You're shivering from the cold. Why didn't you dress warmer? In the midst of my chaotic thoughts, a coat suddenly fell over my head, wrapping me up completely. The familiar scent of a cool, woody perfume washed over me. He stood by my side, as if walking against the light. "What's there to be afraid of? If someone picks on you, just fight back. I've got your back, no matter what. And remember, the squeaky wheel gets the grease." 11. With one hand in his pocket and the other shielding me behind him, my uncle moved forward, while List followed closely at his side. As a business magnate who operated in both legitimate and shadowy circles, he was on a completely different level than Chen Yi or Su Yanhe could ever hope to be at that moment. The mere hint of his imposing aura was enough to cow these naive and inexperienced high school students. He swept his gaze around the room with an amused air, but his eyes narrowed slightly when they landed on Su Yanhe. "If there's something you need, why not talk to me? I'll make the decisions for her." Lin Yuyu's face flushed for no apparent reason. Shyly, she stepped forward first and said, "Hello, I'm Guyu's classmate. My name is Lin Yuyu. Well, the thing is." She stumbled through her explanation. The young uncle listened with an impassive expression. To him, this whole farce must seem as childish as a kid's game of make-believe, yet I feel utterly defeated and at a loss. It feels like I'll never escape the nightmare of the real world. Even though it happened in a life before the last, the slightest trigger now can amplify my fear 1,000-fold, because I have never managed to overcome it. Once upon a time, my mother was my shield. In my past life, this character was set up to be my guardian, with a massive inheritance, an elevated social status, and the backing of my incredibly powerful uncle. No one dared to cross me. Now, given a second chance, I still find myself hiding behind others, sheltered and protected. I couldn't help but look up at the man standing before me. His tall frame shielded me from all the malicious stares and the torrent of harsh words that should have come my way. My heart suddenly grew calm. No one is born strong. Everyone starts from nothing. Even Uncle, once cast out from the family and taken in by Grandpa Gu, had to grit his teeth and fight his way back step by step, returning with the bearing of a true victor to reclaim his rightful place as heir. I used to be tangled up in the line between reality and illusion, hiding my cowardice, wretchedness, and lowliness behind fabricated personas, terrified that someone would discover the ugly, shameful person I once was. I've also gotten stuck in my own head, completely denying my own existence, even pinning my hopes for a brilliant, happy life on someone else. At that thought, I instinctively glanced over at Su Yanhe, only to find him staring straight at me. Our eyes met, yet I was utterly calm, with not a ripple of disturbance in my heart, for I had suddenly seen the light. The past was me, the future will be me, too, the present is reality, I think, therefore I am. 12. I tore off my overcoat and strode forward to face the crowd. If this is a nightmare, then I'll be the one to shatter it, piece by piece. The first blow might as well be aimed at this farce. Seeing this, my uncle quietly took a step back, ceding the floor to me, after catching his look of approval and encouragement. I cleared my throat and raised my voice. I was definitely in the wrong for hitting someone. I think I was just so scared at the time, worried the kitten would be taken, and I ended up getting into a fight with Sue and the others on impulse. I've already given a thorough self-criticism to the head teacher, and I'm willing to apologize to Sue as well. Anyway, as long as I don't say I'm sorry, it doesn't count as an apology. I never stopped the payments for Sue's mother's medical bills. It's true I gave Sue that bank card, the money in it was all from my allowance savings, about $1 million or so. It was a donation for Mrs. Sue's treatment, no strings attached, and I won't be taking it back. It's just a small amount, don't worry about it. As for why the money couldn't be withdrawn, I will get to the bottom of it and give everyone a proper explanation, when the time comes. I'm going to plaster the school with notes to clear my name. I don't have feelings for Sue. And I certainly wouldn't let unrequited love turn to spite. The donation was purely out of sympathy. You and Lin Yu are perfect for each other. Do the world a favor and stay together, so you don't ruin anyone else's life. That's the way it is. The innocent have nothing to fear, and my conscience is clear. As soon as the words were out, I felt a wave of relief. I could finally face that raw, bloody scar deep within my heart and look at myself with courage, without fear, and without worry. The crowd was murmuring amongst themselves when suddenly someone shouted out, "Some people do good deeds without asking for anything in return, while others contribute nothing but their mouths, just yapping away and dishing out moral blackmail." Once someone took the lead, others naturally chimed in, "Exactly, without knowing the truth, you'd think they were truly heinous villains. No matter how rich they are, it's their family's money. They can donate if they want to, and not if they don't. How dare the person collecting the money make demands? We're all classmates. How can you just slander someone without any evidence?" Our class monitor stepped forward. "Lynn, I think you and the others owe Gu an apology. Remember the saying, do not do unto others what you would not have them do unto you. We can't let someone who did a good deed feel unappreciated." Lin Yu looked around in disbelief, left and right, only to find everyone staring at her with reproach. Overwhelmed with a sense of injustice, her eyes welled up with tears, and she ran off, sobbing, through the crowd. Chinyi immediately hurried after her. Just then, the school bell rang, and the playground cleared out in an instant. Only Su Yenhe remained standing in place. He took a step, about to walk towards me, pretending not to see him. I immediately turned around and whined, "Uncle, I'm so tired, I really want to go home." "Then go home and get some rest. A brave girl can afford to be a little willful once in a while." He patted my head with a smile and shot List a subtle, meaningful glance. The other man immediately stepped forward to block Su Yenhe's path. When we were already quite a distance away, Su Yenhe suddenly shouted with all his might at my retreating back, "Guyu, I swear I'll pay you back that $1 million plus someday. I don't owe you a thing." 13. The reason for the card suspension was easy to trace. Su Yenhe had been using it for part-time click farming gigs. The transaction volume got too high, and the bank suspected him of money laundering or fraud, so they froze the account. I asked List to handle this matter for me, and also to tell Su Yenhe that if he insists on repaying the money, he should donate it in my name to children in the mountainous regions. A week later, I transferred to a high school in the capital. Nanny Wang and the old butler moved with me as well. Since leaving all those troublesome people and matters behind, the sky seems bluer, the grass greener, and even the wrinkles on the old butler's face look utterly endearing. I wake up in a cheerful mood every single day. Though Nanny Wang didn't know what had happened, she shared in my joy. She was remarkably clever. Despite being illiterate, she picked things up quickly and soon had my preferences and tastes figured out perfectly. She was also very wise, though she spoke little. Her words always cut straight to the heart of the matter. It was as if she understood me better than I understood myself. Gradually, she took over all aspects of my daily care, never delegating the task to anyone else. Yet, she would often gaze at me, lost in thought, her eyes filled with a sorrowful yet contented look. It was as if she was looking through me, seeing another person she longed for day and night. I understood she was thinking of her daughter. I asked my uncle to help find her daughter, and he gave me a strange, long look, but thankfully didn't refuse. 14. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed. On my 18th birthday, I received a call from an unknown number. "Hello," I greeted politely. The person on the other end of the line didn't say a word. All I could hear was their hurried, nervous breathing. "Hello," I called out several times, thinking it was a classmate playing a prank on me. The person remained silent. In the living room, Auntie Wang was calling me to make a wish and cut the cake. I was just about to hang up the phone. The person on the line suddenly spoke up, their voice hoarse. "Happy birthday to you." This time, it was my turn to fall silent. I just remembered. In my past life when I was with Su Yenhe, I rarely celebrated my birthday. Only my little uncle never failed to send his birthday wishes and a gift every year, because Su Yenhe's mother passed away around this time. Her death anniversary is just 2 days before my birthday, right before the college entrance exams. Perhaps out of basic human decency, I should offer Su Yenhe my condolences now, but I'm done feeling sorry for men. Because feeling sorry for a man is a surefire way to ruin your life. Sensing I was about to hang up, he suddenly grew agitated and pressed urgently, "Which school are you planning to apply to?" I was thinking. I hung up before he could even finish his sentence, and blocked his number for good measure, all in one smooth motion. 15. As the birthday party was winding down, List came over and told me that my uncle had a gift waiting for me on the rooftop. The rooftop was a sprawling sky garden, where fresh seasonal flowers were flown in monthly with their soil intact and carefully replanted. I made my way up to the rooftop, only to find it completely deserted. I searched every nook and cranny but found no gift. The effort, combined with my high heels and long dress, left me drenched in sweat. Feeling a bit discouraged, I decided to head downstairs and confront Lister to get some straight answers. Suddenly, a piercing beam of light broke through the clouds, shooting down from the distant sky and illuminating the surroundings as bright as day. The roar of rotor blades grew louder, and a helicopter descended from the heavens. The gale force winds it kicked up made it impossible to keep our eyes open, leaving us staggering and unsteady. A tall, upright figure slowly emerged in the doorway of the cabin. He leaned in slightly and extended a hand to me like a gentleman. "Hop on, I'll take you for a ride." I carefully gathered my skirt and stepped forward, gently placing my hand in his large one. But then he gave a sudden, strong pull. I stumbled and fell right into his arms. The lipstick on my lips left a vivid red streak across his chest. The pilot, a foreigner, let out a suggestive whistle at the sight. My cheeks burned instantly, my heart pounded, and I had no idea where to look. Thankfully, my uncle didn't seem to notice and calmly gave the order for takeoff. I breathed a huge sigh of relief, silently berating myself. "Come on, Guyu, he's your uncle. What on earth are you thinking?" The helicopter soared over the city, the sea of glittering lights below both dazzling and beautiful. As fireworks burst across the sky outside the window, he handed me a file bag with a hint of mystery, his smile full of hidden meaning. "Happy birthday, your 18th birthday present. But don't open it yet, wait until you're in college, lol. I've seen this file folder in my past life, it's that massive inheritance." He probably doesn't want me to open it because it might mess with my head before the college entrance exams. Okay. Thanks, handsome and loaded uncle. The thought of all that money, enough for several lifetimes, instantly made me super sweet. He promptly flicked me on the forehead. "Our guardianship is over." He seemed to bite down hard on those words. "Stop calling me uncle, you're making me sound old, and it'll ruin my chances with women." He looked at me meaningfully, his eyes dark and inscrutable, rubbing my forehead. I pursed my lips in secret. "You don't have any romantic prospects to begin with." "Old man, how can you possibly blame that on me? You look like you've got a problem with that," he said with a thin, insincere smile. "No, I don't," I protested, my denial stubborn. So, what should I call you from now on?" I asked, immediately adopting a humble tone. "Whatever you say, Chi Zian," I ventured cautiously. He didn't respond. "Brother Chi." He shot me a dirty look. "Brother Zian, big brother Xiaoyan." I was suddenly seized by a mischievous impulse and started calling out names at random, getting more and more into it, completely oblivious to the strange look growing in his eyes. Later, he told me that what he really wanted to hear that day was me calling out somewhere else. "You pervert." 16. After the college entrance exams, I received my acceptance letter from Jinghua University. For the 2 months of summer vacation, I traveled all over the country with Nanny Wang and the old butler. Having a wild time, I realized I was becoming more and more dependent on Nanny Wang. When we were out having fun, if she wasn't there, I'd feel a bit empty inside. Whenever I found something delicious or fun, she was the first person I'd run to, eagerly sharing my discoveries with her. I even worry that if she ever finds her daughter, will she still love me as much as she does now? But it's shameful to steal someone else's maternal love. I can only try to suppress these feelings deep down, not daring to let Nanny Wang notice, yet she seemed to sense my restlessness and quietly kept an appropriate distance from me. Though I felt a bit sad, there was nothing I could do about it. Chi Zian would occasionally fly over to travel with me, but after a couple of days, he'd be busy flying back again. More often than not, he would send List over to keep an eye on me for him, saying it was to prevent me from going astray. Before I knew it, it was time for university life. My freshman year was quite busy, but Chi Zian, on the other hand, seemed to have more free time. He made a point of driving me home and to school on weekends, often taking me out to eat and have fun. I can't shake the feeling that he's been holding something against me lately, because the way he looks at me grows more inscrutable and unsettling each time. It's like a venomous snake lying in wait in the dark, biding its time to devour its prey. Maybe I'm overthinking it. According to my memories from a past life, the internet industry will enter a new phase of explosive growth in 2 years. I plan to get ahead of the curve and get a piece of the action. Naturally, the seed funding for my startup will come from that massive inheritance. So, on an ordinary morning, I opened that untouched file folder, 17. Unlike in my previous life, aside from the inheritance transfer agreement, there were 2 additional letters inside. One was an antique-style marriage certificate. The other one was a handwritten letter. I gave the marriage certificate a casual glance, but my eyes were instantly riveted, and a tidal wave of shock surged within me. Ahem, why are my name and Cheese Ian's on this thing? For some inexplicable reason, a sliver of secret excitement began to unfurl in my heart. I patted my flushed cheeks, forced down the corners of my mouth that wanted to curl up, and opened that handwritten letter again. It was signed Father Goo and dated 7 years ago. I skimmed through it in seconds. The gist of the letter was that Cheese Ian and I had been betrothed since childhood, but fate is unpredictable. After he fell from grace, he was adopted by Grandpa Goo to conceal his identity. He later successfully returned to his family and reclaimed everything. On his deathbed, Father Goo left a specific wish, hoping that Cheese Ian would marry me and take over the Goo family business. The letter states that if I want to inherit the estate, I must marry Cheese Ian, otherwise, the entire estate will go to Cheese Ian. This is to prevent the Goo family fortune from falling into the wrong hands, which could destroy a century-old legacy overnight, and also to stop me from being a constant target for schemers. So, in other words, if I don't marry Cheese Ian, I'll lose both the inheritance and my own security. Holy crap, what kind of garbage plot is this? I refuse to accept this. I protest. I'm reporting the author for this absolute nonsense. Wait, that's not right. It suddenly dawned on me. Why on earth did I use the phrase, lose both the person and the money? Oops, hee. I accidentally let my true intentions slip, but why, in my past life, did I never hear Cheese Ian mention this? He even gave all the inheritance back to me. Did he look down on me? He'd rather lose a fortune than keep his wife. 18. I was so down in the dumps that I ate 2 fewer bowls of rice at lunch. Auntie Wang obviously noticed. After lunch, she knocked on my bedroom door. Little fish, are you feeling down today? She asked kindly, sitting down at the head of the bed. I collapsed onto the bed, utterly drained, and then proceeded to throw a little tantrum in Afei's arms, rolling around and making a fuss. Auntie Wang, I'm so torn. Torn about what? Why don't you tell me? Little fish, she smiled gently. Well, I stammered, twisting my fingers, it's just, I think I've started to have feelings for someone, but because of some unpleasant things that happened before, I might not have the courage to like anyone anymore. She smiled knowingly. Just because a little fish chokes once while eating, does that mean it should never eat again? I shook my head. Of course not. How could one forsake good food? Understanding my meaning, she continued, by the same logic, is it really worth giving up so many other wonderful things just because of one bad experience? I immediately shook my head, but I'm not sure if he likes me. I mumbled quietly, feeling a bit dejected. You're talking about Mr. Chi, aren't you? Her reply hit the nail on the head. Having my thoughts read so easily, I buried my face in Afei's big belly in embarrassment. I actually think, if it's Mr. Chi, little fish could give it a try. She gently lifted my head, freeing Fatty's belly. I believe Mr. Chi isn't the type to play with someone's feelings. It's probably just that I'm not quite ready myself. I couldn't help but sigh. She then gave a gentle smile and offered some thoughtful consolation. Little fish, you must remember this. Whether you choose to marry or not to marry, the goal should always be your own happiness. But there is no such thing as a perfectly safe, foolproof choice. When you don't know where to start, it's best to follow your most basic instinct. Go with your gut feeling. You might just be pleasantly surprised. Auntie Wang had gone out, leaving me alone to think things over quietly. I thought about it for a long time, and I had to admit she was right. There's no such thing as a perfect choice in this world. I should let go of the past and give myself a chance. So I immediately got out of bed, rushed into the study, and slapped the marriage certificate down in front of his computer. I planted my hands on my hips, brimming with shameless confidence. Cheese Ian, do you want a wife or not? He slowly lifted his head, stared at the marriage certificate for a long moment, then said with an impassive face, if you want the inheritance, I can just give it to you. No. I wagged a finger, saying with utmost seriousness, that inheritance is my bride price for marrying you. And what if I don't want it? He arched a brow, looking at me with leisurely composure. I took a step forward, grabbing his tie and putting on a fierce act. Then I'll have no choice but to tie you up and take you back to the Goo family estate to be my mountain stronghold bride. He feigned a sigh, grinning like a sly fox with a big, bushy tail. All right then, I suppose I'll reluctantly accept. I patted his head. Good. I'll work hard to earn money and provide for you. He loosened his cuff and shot me a sidelong glance. Have I been letting you get away with too much lately? Seeing things were turning sour, I made a quick getaway. His teasing voice immediately followed me. What a chicken. After the rush of impulse came a wave of cold fear. Standing outside the study door, my heart was pounding, and my back was drenched in a cold sweat. God knows how much I was bluffing just now. I was so nervous my legs felt like jelly. I couldn't help but touch my face, and sure enough, it was burning hot. I must be blushing crimson by now. Humph, he knows what's good for him. If he dared to say no, I would've. Oh, never mind, it's not the end of the world if a confession gets rejected, so what if I failed? There are plenty more fish in the sea. 19. According to the plot, Chen Yi and Lin Yuyu would both get into Shanghai University, and after retaking the exams for a year, Su Yanhe would follow closely behind, gaining admission to the neighboring Shanghai Jiaotong University. But I never expected to see Su Yanhe giving a speech as the freshman representative at the new student orientation ceremony. It was painfully obvious he was after me. He launched a very public and intense pursuit, accidental meetings, saving me seats, buying me meals, sending flowers and gifts, even posting declarations on the campus confession wall. He pulled out all the stops. Gossip spread across campus like wildfire. A handsome freshman was hopelessly smitten with the department's most popular senior girl, and he was all in, no matter what. I've turned him down countless times. I even crushed his gift under my heel right in front of him and threw it in the trash, but none of it could shake his obsession. That day, after the club's public performance ended, I gave a thank you speech as the lead actor, amidst the crowd's urging. A senior came up to present me with flowers. This senior had pursued me before, but I turned him down. Lately, he seemed to be making a strong comeback. On stage, he suddenly dropped to one knee, pulled out a ring, and to my shock, proposed to me right there in front of everyone. The hundreds of drowsy eyes in the audience instantly lit up, and even the students who were about to leave early decided to stay. Everyone was waiting for my reaction. Just as a headache was coming on, I suddenly felt a chill run down my spine. A sharp gaze from the crowd was locked firmly on me. I instinctively turned around, only to find that Qi Zian had arrived at some point without my noticing. He leaned against the corner of the auditorium, staring straight at me with a faint, ambiguous smile. In front of me, my senior knelt on one knee. Behind me, Qi Zian's serpent-like gaze was fixed upon me. Caught between a rock and a hard place, I was caught in a dilemma. Wishing the ground would swallow me whole, after carefully choosing my words, I was just about to politely decline my senior. Suddenly and without warning, another figure rushed onto the stage. It was Su Yanhe. What the hell are you doing? He threw a punch at the senior. The two of them immediately started brawling. The onlookers hurriedly tried to break up the fight. I took advantage of the chaos and quickly slipped away. I had planned to slip around Qi Zian by sneaking out the back. I never expected him to catch me red-handed. He began to advance toward me, step by step. Each footfall felt like it landed right on my heart, making it tremble with every beat. First, there's the aloof senior, and now, a love-struck junior. Our little Yuer sure is popular, isn't she? Despite the words being complimentary, his smile was unsettling. I suppose so, I said, my eyes darting around. What? Is that not enough for you? He retorted, his voice rising with displeasure. Seeing him puff up with anger like a bristling, chubby cat, I couldn't help but chuckle as I walked over to smooth his ruffled fur. Don't be mad. I'll treat you to some fish when we get home, I said, wrapping my arms around his waist and planting a light kiss on his chin. His eyes crinkled with pleasure. The next second, he suddenly scooped me up and pressed me against the wall with a mischievous grin. But I can't wait till we get home. I panicked and tried to pry his hand off. Let go. There are cameras here. Don't embarrass yourself and drag me into it. He quickly pulled the suit jacket draped over his arm and threw it over my head. There, problem solved. That's like the ostrich burying its head in the sand. Before I could finish speaking, his kiss descended upon me, forceful yet tender. Afterwards, he wore a look of utter satisfaction. Now that we've had the appetizer, he asked with shameless curiosity, when do we get to the main course? I pressed a hand to my bruised lip and shot him a withering glare. 20. I moved out of the dorm and back home. After class, I'd leave campus right away to avoid running into any more of those troublesome admirers. Getting tangled up in drama was one thing, but upsetting Qi Zian, that walking jealousy factory, was a whole other story. After Su Yanhe failed to corner me several times, he gradually started to give up. After all, his scholarship and part-time job were more important to him. He got into a public fight with that senior student, and they both received disciplinary action from the school. I ran into him again 2 years after graduation, at a well-known law firm. His startup had failed, and he was there to consult about liability and bankruptcy. We came face to face in the hallway, and I walked right past him without so much as a glance. He reached out a hand to stop me. Only then did I see him clearly. He looked utterly defeated and haggard, a gaunt shadow of the confident, spirited Mr. Sue from my past life. We were classmates once. Care for a drink? He asked softly. I took a step back. No, thank you. If you have something to say, say it here. His head drooped in dejection, yet a gentle smile spread across his face, as if he had never known hardship or defeat. Do you know why I started this business? My personality is completely unsuited for being a merchant, I thought to myself. It's for Lin Yu, of course. You saw Chinya's studio taking off like wildfire. Couldn't stand being outdone, and just jumped on the bandwagon. Without waiting for my reply, he continued on his own. I was thinking, if I were stronger than that man, so strong that everyone would take notice, would you finally look at me differently? Boy, you're reading way too much into this. I had no interest in hearing his entrepreneurial journey, and I certainly didn't want to know I'd been cast in the female lead's role against my will. I turned to leave. He suddenly lunged forward, gripping my wrist tightly, his eyes bloodshot. I was with you first. I was startled and instinctively raised my foot to kick him. His eyes cleared in an instant, and he reluctantly let go of my hand. Sorry, I lost my composure. After saying that, he fixed me with a penetrating gaze. Someone asked me to pass on a message. He said he didn't mean to abandon you and your child that day. He went to see Lin Yu intending to end things, to tell her to stop coming to find him. But he never expected that. What on earth are you talking about? I interrupted him impatiently, feigning complete ignorance. I'm not even married. What child are you talking about? Did Su Yenha get a second chance at life too? I don't know, but I've long since lost the heart to find out, because none of it has anything to do with me. He shouted at my retreating back. Watch out for your uncle. He's not a good man. He has ill intentions towards you. I turned a deaf ear to it. I just kept striding forward. Much later on, I heard bits and pieces about the main couple from old high school classmates. It seems that without Su Yenha, the devoted second male lead, acting as a catalyst and a wingman, their romantic journey suddenly hit a rough patch. The two of them stumbled their way to the altar. However, the fundamental issues from their dating days were never truly resolved. After they got married, new conflicts erupted. Over time, these issues accumulated until the couple ultimately ended up getting a divorce. As for Su Yenha, it's said that after attending the main couple's wedding, he went abroad and was never heard from again. 21. Not long after Qi Zian and I got engaged, Auntie Wang suddenly fell seriously ill. Her condition was critical, and within days, the doctors issued a critical condition notice. The illness came on in a very strange way, yet Auntie Wang didn't seem bothered by it at all. I was frantic with worry, dragging Qi Zian around to consult various specialists, but it was all to no avail. That evening, Mama Wang suddenly seemed to perk up, even finding the strength to eat. She gazed quietly at the setting sun outside the window. Little fish, the time has come. I must go now, and I may never return. I understood this was a final rally, and with tears blurring my vision, I laid my head on the edge of the bed. No, we haven't found your daughter yet. You have to stay strong. We will find a way to help you, I promise. After all this time, I'd already come to think of her as a second mother without even realizing it. No, she said with a gentle smile, her whole being radiating profound happiness. I found her a long time ago. I watched her grow up healthy, take her college entrance exams, graduate from university, get engaged. She has someone who truly cares for her now. She's going to live a happy life from here on out. So she had already found her daughter. You never told me, but you never left me either. For a moment, I didn't know whether to feel relieved or heartbroken. She gazed at me deeply, full of longing and reluctance. Our eyes met, and a wave of emotion washed over me. Before I could stop myself, the word escaped my lips. Mom. To my surprise, she answered with a gentle smile. Yes. Then, with a calm and serene tone, she said, we've finally found each other, mother and daughter. The words hit me like a thunderclap out of a clear blue sky, leaving my mind reeling, blank, and my heart pounding wildly. A bizarre thought slowly surfaced in my mind. No wonder the taste of her cooking felt so hauntingly familiar. No wonder she insisted I call her Auntie Wang and not the more formal Mrs. Wang. No wonder she can't read. The writing systems on both sides are completely different. As for me, I've systematically studied the knowledge of this world, so I've long been accustomed to those characters and symbols. If I can transmigrate into a book, then naturally, others can too. Mom, oh, Mom, I'm here, sobbing. I threw myself into her arms, calling out her name over and over. She answered patiently. Each and every time, I'm sorry, I wailed, my tears flowing freely. I'm sorry I didn't recognize you sooner. I'm sorry it took me until now to call you Mom. I'm sorry I didn't take better care of you either. But why? I've only just met my mother, and now she has to leave me forever. Hush now, sweetheart, don't cry. It's not like we'll never see each other again, she said softly, wiping away my tears. You must take good care of yourself. And don't lose your temper. Once I learn the art of visiting dreams, I'll come back to see you often. What do you mean? I sobbed, gasping for breath between cries. Well, I was only able to cross over here thanks to my master's help, but the price for your rebirth was that I had to become his disciple, inherit his legacy, and I can never acknowledge you as my own. She recounted the story gently and in detail. The more I listened, the more astonished I became. I quickly wiped away my tears and pressed on. Who is your master, Lady Mangpa? She replied with an embarrassed smile. My master praised my cooking, so he wants me to take over his job of brewing the soup of forgetfulness. My jaw dropped, hanging open as wide as a goose egg. It took me a long moment to find my voice again, and I choked out. You're not just saying that to make me feel better, are you? When have I ever lied to you? I wiped my tears, sniffling. Then, Mom, you can't forget about me. You have to come back and see me often. She nodded with a tearful smile. And Mem, I'll come see you at the Naiha Bridge someday, with your son-in-law in tow. She let out a soft laugh and playfully tapped my nose with her translucent finger. I held her in a tight embrace. Moments later, within a dazzling halo of light, her body gradually faded away. It finally transformed into a streak of light and flew out the window. Time began to flow again. And only then did I hear Chi Zian's anxious shouts from outside the door. Xiaoyu, what's wrong? I heard you crying. He burst the door open, rushed in, and without a glance at the empty bed, strode over and pulled me into his arms. It's okay, don't be afraid, I'm here with you. You're not alone, MHM. Tears streamed down freely as I buried my face hard against his chest. So, I wasn't all alone after all. While I was here, doing my utmost to save others, my mother was also there, fighting just as hard to save me. End of main story. Extra story. 1. Chi Zian fell for Guyu at first sight. Unfortunately, he had no idea at the time that she was the one he was betrothed to since childhood. Their first meeting took place at a countryside retreat. He was looking for a parking spot when an old man suddenly ran over and threw himself down right in front of his car. It instantly clicked. This was an insurance scam. Driving was already a headache, and now some clueless fool was trying to shake him down. Just as he was debating whether to drive right over the guy or just pay him off to avoid trouble, a stranger, a young woman, came rushing over. Guyu was there to serve some justice. She and her roommates had just been scammed by the same old man the day before. They had barely exchanged a few words before she got into a shouting match with the old man. He had a booming voice and formidable lung power. Clearly, this wasn't his first rodeo. In the heat of the argument, she suddenly clutched her chest, squatted down, and began convulsing all over. With a trembling hand, she reached out toward the old man, making as if to grab his pant leg. Help me. I have a heart condition. Don't you dare leave. This is all your fault. You're not going anywhere until you pay up. I'm talking millions. The old man took one look, realized he'd run into someone with a death wish, and took off like a shot, fleeing with remarkable speed. Chi Zian immediately moved to pick her up and take her to the hospital. To everyone's surprise, she scrambled to her feet in one swift motion, casually brushing the dust off her clothes. Ha, I'm not actually sick at all. I was just trying to scare the old man. If List had been there, Guyu would have recognized him immediately. The man standing before her was none other than her elusive uncle, who was rarely ever seen. As Chi Zian looked at the clever, lively girl with sparkling eyes before him, he experienced for the first time what it truly meant to have butterflies in his stomach. He used to scoff at such romantic descriptions in classic literature. Butterflies in your stomach, why not elephants? Are elephants not good enough? To express his gratitude, Chi Zian treated her to a meal, but Guyu declined, saying her friends were waiting for her to return. They were on a trip during the National Day holiday. With that, she waved and ran off. The lovely stranger left without even giving her name, let alone her contact information. In fact, if Chi Zian had paid a bit more attention to his own niece, he would have recognized his crush much sooner. He took on the guardianship of Guyu purely out of gratitude to her grandfather. He had absolutely no personal interest in her whatsoever. The one and only time he saw her, she was just 12, while he was nearly 20. already deep in a world of power struggles and life-or-death gambits. How could he possibly be interested in a mere child? So, he arranged for someone to look after her and simply packed his bags and went abroad. Even though Lester reported on Guyu's situation to him every year, he couldn't be bothered to read the updates. As long as he knew she was doing fine, that was enough. He rarely reached out to Guyu. Guyu seldom contacted him either, preferring to get in touch with Lister if there was any business. As a result, the relationship between the two of them was almost like that of complete strangers. 2. Their second encounter took place in Shanghai. She tapped on his car window, her smile beaming with enthusiasm. "Sir, how about buying one? Support a college student startup." It turned out this was part of Guyu's practical class assignment on the street vendor economy, where they had to hit a certain sales target to pass. Cheesy picked out a tassel for the car, simply because she said she had woven it herself. Then, like an awkward, eager teenager, he excitedly hung the cheap, colorful tassel inside the luxurious, high-end car. He stared at the swaying tassels, as if gazing into the depths of his own turbulent heart. How beautiful, he thought, lost in admiration. It suddenly dawned on him, after all this time pining, he still didn't know who she was. But by the time he got off to look for her, she had already vanished without a trace. He drove around the neighborhood several more times, but didn't see her again. She's probably gone back to school by now. He was frustrated for a good while, but it was no use. However, he decided to take care of his business first and come back to look for her later. "The main reason for my return to Shanghai is to settle the matter of the Gu family inheritance. His little niece is already in university. It's time for him to return the inheritance to her. As for that childhood betrothal, he never took it seriously in the first place. He wouldn't force himself to marry someone he doesn't love just for money, nor would he ruin a girl's life like that. What's more, he already has someone he likes now." 3. Fate had played a cruel joke on him. The moment he stepped into the same house as Guyu, he was utterly stunned. A pang of regret beginning to creep in. Guyu was also stunned, speechless. The atmosphere became awkward for a moment. It was the old butler who finally stepped in to smooth things over. At the dinner table, she kept calling him uncle with every sentence, and each time he heard it, it grated on his ears. It's only a 7-year age gap. Is he really that old? At that moment, he felt immensely grateful for the existence of their betrothal, but before he could figure out how to broach the subject, Guyu arrived with Su Yenha. "Oh no, she already has someone she likes. Looks like I'm too late." He was consumed with regret, cursing his own carelessness for letting the opportunity slip right through his fingers. It was a roller coaster of emotions, soaring highs and crushing lows. It felt like a fall from heaven straight into hell. In truth, he had entertained the despicable thought of using the marriage contract and the inheritance to force Guyu into marrying him, but would that still be Cheezian? He was above playing the homewrecker. And he certainly didn't want a love born from coercion. He wasn't that desperate for affection, so he chose to let go, taking the marriage certificate and the will, leaving only the inheritance agreement behind. After all, it was just a fleeting infatuation. Given enough time, once he met new people and experienced new things, those feelings would surely fade, but he never imagined that, for years to come, he would find it nearly impossible to meet someone who stirred his heart in the same way. To prevent himself from entertaining improper thoughts and committing an irreversible act, Cheezian deliberately avoided contacting Guyu after leaving Shanghai. He seemed even more distant than before, showing her neither care nor concern. The only thing that remained unchanged was the birthday gifts and well wishes he sent each year in his capacity as an elder. He quietly kept tabs on Guyu's movements, as if trying to make up for all the care and affection that had been missing in those years. 4. That morning, List entered the CEO's office with a knot of anxiety in his stomach. 5 minutes later, a furious roar erupted from within. In a blind rage, the man proceeded to smash everything in the office to pieces, the sound of shattering objects filling the air. List stood guard in silence outside the door, forbidding anyone from looking in. Cheezian slumped to the floor, clutching the death certificate, his palm lacerated and bleeding from the broken glass. Su Yenha, how dare he? How could he? I handed her over to him myself, and this is how he treated her. She was only 25, and now both she and her unborn child are gone. He was filled with rage at Su Yenha's fickleness, and even more rage at himself for failing to protect her. During that period, a dark cloud hung over the entire corporation. Every executive was walking on eggshells, afraid to even breathe too loudly for fear of the boss finding fault. After Cheezian finished Guyu's funeral, he began to settle the score. Su Yenha was utterly hopeless at business. If it weren't for the Chi family backing him up, he would have squandered the Gu family's inheritance long ago. For Chi Zian, dealing with him was child's play. On the day the Su family went bankrupt, Su Yanhe was brought before him by his subordinates, looking like a whipped dog. She's dead, and you have no reason to live either. He toyed with the tassel in his hand, a nostalgic gesture. But his eyes were ice cold. But death is too good for you. I don't want you going down to find her just yet. For her life and the child's, 2 lives, you'll pay with an arm and a leg. Su Yanhe roared at him in a furious rage. Give me Guyu's ashes. You're in love with her, aren't you? You, her own uncle, actually fell in love with your niece. Thank God she never found out before she died, or she would have been so disgusted she couldn't eat for 3 days. Ha 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 ha. The roaring laughter cut off abruptly. Su Yanhe was dragged away from the basement. A series of agonized screams soon began to echo. 5. Chi Zian never married in his life. On his deathbed, he ordered his adopted son to have his ashes interred together with Gu Yu's. After death, his spirit wandered aimlessly. More often than not, he would sit before Gu Yu's grave, murmuring incessantly about his longing and regret. Then one day, a fissure suddenly tore open in the sky. As if someone had slashed it with a blade, a flash of white light erupted from within, sucking Chi Zian inside. When he opened his eyes, he saw a man with long, flowing hair, dressed in ancient robes. He wondered, had he somehow ended up in the underworld? The long-haired man pointed at a mirror and said to the tall woman beside him, "Your daughter is right here. Remember, you must not reveal your true identity to her." The woman nodded earnestly. Chi Zian glanced curiously at the mirror, only to realize with a shock that the daughter the two were discussing was none other than Gu Yu. The woman leaped forward, diving into the mirror and transforming into a somewhat aged matron. Before Chi Zian could even begin to process what was happening, the long-haired man had already spotted him. Huh, how